Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is part 1 of what Naruto was the Heir Sitri in high school DxD. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Naruto opened his eyes as he stood in darkness. He looked left, right, up and down. Naruto let a sigh out as he sat down. So, that's it, huh? After all this, after all I did, Naruto looks down, closing his eyes. Ka-chan. Oto-san, Kasumi, I'm so sorry, I failed you all. Naruto raised his hands near his face. Naruto closed his eyes. He could still see, smell and hear it. Fire, the smell of blood in the air. Bodies burning, people screaming either for mercy, asking for their child, or help. Naruto laid down on the ground, his usual bright blonde hair dimmed. His usual bright sky blue eyes are usually full of life. Were now voided of all life. Naruto quickly sat up as he heard footsteps. Naruto quickly shot to his feet as he saw a figure standing in front of him. In a place that was complete darkness, this being, the outline of this person or thing, was even darker than darkness. Well, Naruto Uzumaki, Namikaze, how are you? Naruto looked at the being and wondered if this was death that was waiting for him. What was he here for? To reprehend him for failing to protect his younger sister? Who knows? Naruto relaxed and sighed. Well, as you should know, terrible, horrible, I want to just move on. Naruto relaxed his shoulders as he shook his head. Why? Couldn't I make it in time? Oto-san, I'm so sorry. Naruto had a memory come back to him as Kasumi and his mother came running toward him, with tears running down both of their eyes. The dark being had a smile on its face, as Naruto could only see its teeth. It walked over to Naruto and said, yes, sad, however, life goes on, and you must continue on. Besides, you were supposed to die anyways. Almost all humans have been killed off, turned into those white things are prowling around somewhere, and all the tailed beasts, well, they're somewhere. Before you stopped him, that Sasuke dude would have massacred every human being in existence. So, you technically did the world a favor. Naruto just shook his head. Tosan is gone, he killed her. By him. Naruto closed his eyes as he couldn't even think about the events that transpired. Somehow, he tricked an entire village to back him, still they were even wiped out. I couldn't keep my word to Itachi, I couldn't stop Sasuke from killing my Oto-san. I hesitated. Sasuke was, like my little brother, just like Kasumi, is my Imouto. Yes, but this is no longer your issue. No longer your world, you did your work. It's time to move on. The dark being began laughing maniacally. Naruto looked at the thing as if it was insane. So, you're telling me to forget everything and everyone? I'm so mad. Naruto's shoulders slumped as he shook his head. I don't even know what to say anymore. The Oto I raised alongside Itachi. He killed my Oto-san using my mother as bait. He almost killed my Imouto. Naruto's fists tightened. Then, he killed my girl, my Yugito. The being chuckled at Naruto's plight, but it wasn't in a mocking-like tone. It was as if he expected it was going to happen. Just so you know, she protected your Okawa-san and Imouto to her very last breath. Naruto grew angry as he shook his head and glared at the being. Just who the hell are you? Why am I still here? Just let me move on. Whether it's to hell or not. Naruto didn't want to go to hell, but yet he felt like he had to. The war that broke out forced Naruto to kill not only the friends he made along the way of his journey but the friends Kasumi made too. Naruto even had a hand in killing Itachi. Naruto tried to prevent Sasuke from going after him for revenge that day. Sadly, when Naruto knocked Sasuke out the first time, Itachi, as much as he didn't want to, had to fight Naruto to keep up his disguise in the Akatsuki. Itachi planned to have Sasuke kill him, but things don't always go as planned. Itachi, still playing the part, asked Naruto to fight him. Even after Naruto tried to convince Itachi to just come back and maybe he could change things, Itachi still refused, and Itachi gave Naruto no choice but to fight. The fact he had to kill not only his best friend he considered a brother, but kill the little brother he helped raise alongside the shinobi he called brother. The dark mass chuckled as he extended his hand out. Nah, I got other plans for you. Besides, you aren't done yet. You still have a purpose. You still need to keep living. so enjoy your new life. A second chance, a chance to do what you couldn't do here. Besides, don't blame yourself entirely, the world you were born in needed sacrifices. Yours was one of them, the world needs to continue now that you left it. It was a world where you don't get to win, a world that is done. Black tendrils came up from the ground and began to wrap themselves around Naruto. Naruto looked at the being with shock. What does he mean by the never going to work out? Needed sacrifices? We don't get to win? When Naruto heard those words, it angered him hearing the thing say it to him. There was always a choice. If he wanted to change, he could do it himself. Naruto extended his arms out to resist and argue, but the being smiled again and placed its arms behind its back. The being said, "Let me tell you something, the world that is created by someone. Meaning everything action you do, everything you say, none of it is of your own fruition. It's all pre-planned, predetermined, and pre-sanctioned. However, I am going to grant you a chance. A world where you can take it by your own hands. Enjoy, Naruto Uzumaki, child of prophecy." The rest of the black tendrils then covered up the rest of Naruto's vision. Before he knew it, he lost his voice, he felt smaller, and he could hear voices. However, the voices he heard were voices he could barely understand. Naruto swore he felt another foot, and he also heard various voices. One belonging to a man, and then a woman, but soon after. He soon fell asleep feeling a lot of warmth, love, and the annoying voice of what seemed to be a teenage girl squealing like a child. That was the last thing he heard and felt until everything went dark. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was no more. The people he knew, people that knew him, he was not who they knew him as. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto is dead. The child of a noble family he is now born into, and even in this world he still is the child of prophecy. But one thing still bothered Naruto, who was this child of prophecy. Because that was not who he was, that was Kasumi. Backquote, 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 backquote. Time skip week later. Congratulations, you have a healthy baby boy, Lord and Lady Sitri. The doctor called out and handed Naruto to a nurse to be wiped down. The doctor then returned to Lady Sitri. You still have one more child to go. Lady Sitri continued to push their third child out. Gee, get her out of me. She pushed to get her second child out. Lady Sitri was also crushing her husband's hand. Come on honey, just a few asterisk, crunch snap, more pushes. We got two healthy twins. Oh, Satan, this hurts. Lord Sitri said proudly with sobs in his voice with tears running down his face. Mainly because currently his wife was crushing his hand, and he was pretty sure she broke a few of the bones. Soon after the doctor was able to get the last baby out. It's a beautiful baby girl. The doctor called out. The doctor wiped the baby girl down and then handed her to her mother. The nurse also walked over, handing Lady Sitri her son. Lady Sitri cheered happily as she had some tears run down her cheeks. Look at that. Two beautiful twins. Who was the firstborn? Lady Sitri asked with much eagerness in her voice. The boy, Lady Sitri. The doctor quickly replied as he and the other nurses stood off to the side for the family to connect. Lady Sitri smiled as she held her babies close to her. Look, Kronik. Look, honey, look at our beautiful twins. Kronik, Lord Sitri, smiled at his wife as he looked at his beautiful children. What will their names be? Mira. Their baby girl had dark black hair and violet eyes. Much like her brother, Naruto sported the same black hair color but had light blue orbs for eyes. Mira smiled as she looked at her son and her daughter. Okay, how about ladies first? Mira giggled as she kissed her son's forehead. I hope you don't mind letting me name your baby sister first. Mira cooed towards her son. She then turned to her daughter and thought for a bit. She thought for a few seconds. How about Sona Sitri, our youngest of the Sitri family? Sona? I love it.
Kronik grinned happily as he placed a gentle finger on his baby girl's cheeks. I'm sure your big brother and father will protect you from all the other boys, and well, probably your big sister too.
Mira then turned to her second oldest child. I've thought about a few names. Jin, Naruto, Ikki, Tanato, and Shin. Mira thought about what his name should be. Kronik raised an eyebrow. Naruto? That's an unusual name, but why Naruto? Kronik looked down at his wife as she cradled their newborn twins. Mira smiled as she giggled a bit. Well, Serafal has recently been visiting a wonderful country called Japan, a city called Kyoto. She took me one evening to try some ramen. It was wonderful. There was this ingredient in it called Naruto maki. I learned it meant fish cake. It's an ingredient type of kamaboko, or cured fish surimi produced in Japan. Each cloud-shaped slice of Naruto has a pink or red spiral pattern, which is meant to resemble the Naruto whirlpools in the Naruto Strait between Awaji Island and Naruto, Tokushima Prefecture on Shikoku Island in Japan. Mira's smile widened even more. That's it. I decided. Naruto Sitri, Naruto Sitri. My baby boy, my little fish cake. Mira smiled happily as she looked at her beautiful baby boy. Kronik chuckled, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly, saying, "Not going to lie to you, honey. I was kinda hoping to name him Kronik Jr. Our son being Fishcake is rather." Mira glared at her husband in the idea. Rather what? His name is Naruto Sitri. This is non-negotiable. Mira had an ice-cold aura appear around her. Alarm bells began ringing in Kronik in his head. He quickly laughed it off. Naruto. A wonderful name. A wonderful, wonderful name. A great heir to this family. Kronik leaned down and kissed his wife. He then turned to his son and daughter and kissed their heads. Mira smiled. Aren't they just the cutest? Our cute little devils. Mira continued to coo toward her two newborns. Naruto, who was laying in his mother's arms, looked at his twin sister. I don't know what's going, or how I even ended up here. But I can tell I was reborn. Why? I don't know. Mira saw as her son looked curiously at his twin sister. She brought them closer together with a smile. Look, Naruto, this is your twin Imouto. Make sure to look after her. Naruto extended his hand out and grabbed his Imouto's hand. I won't fail you. I won't fail my new Oto-san and Okawa-san. I promise, I won't. Naruto also thought back to his other family. I promise I won't fail you guys again either with this family. I'll work hard, train hard, so never again do I have to live through losing the people I love. That way I never have to hurt the family I love by sacrificing myself. Mira smiled as she cooed out, "Aw, look. He wants to hold her hand. How cute." If Mira could, she would place her hand on her cheek in utter awe due to cuteness overload. Kronik looked at his son and chuckled, but he noticed something. Now that I think about it, they didn't cry when they came out. Mira looked, who broke out of her moment of bliss and came back to reality. Oh, now that you mention it, they didn't. Mira looked down at her children, and she found Sona asleep. However, what shocked Mira was Naruto. Kronik looked at his son too and said, "Honey, you're seeing what I'm seeing, right?" Just then the doors slammed open as Naruto, along with his parents, looked over to see who it was. Naruto saw a beautiful girl, who looked like she was in her late teens with black hair, tied into twin tails and pink eyes. She also has a childlike body, albeit with large breasts. The only thing is he didn't understand anything about what was going on. Mainly, the language they were speaking, for now at least. It seems he'll have to learn the language of this world. The woman shouted, "Oto-sama, Okawa-sama, I'm here to see my beautiful new little siblings." She came running up to the bed. She jumped and gently floated onto the bed and landed on her stomach. Her feet in the air and her hands on her cheeks. Ooh. They're so cute. I'm your Oni-chan now. I'll be the best. Serafal then gently jumped off and walked to the left side of the bed. Since her father was on the right side, Serafal walked up to her new siblings. Ah, what are their names? Serafal asked while not taking her gaze off of her siblings. When Naruto heard what seemed to be his big sister, his eyes widened. He was able to understand what she was saying. The boy is Naruto, and the girl is Sona. Mira replied as Serafal continued to smile and giggle at her two new younger siblings. Again, the only thing Naruto could understand was his name and his sister's name. Wait, like Naruto Maki? Serafal looked at her mother with her eyes widened. Mira simply nodded her head, and Serafal began to jump. Even with her short stature, she jumped relatively high. Then swayed in the air left and right. Yeah, that's such a wonderful name. Fishcake. Serafal then floated down to look at her two younger siblings. From a happy face to a serious face, she stated, "It's decided then." Serafal placed her hands on her hips and smiled sternly up at the ceiling. Kronik deadpanned at his daughter's actions. What did you decide on, Serafal? No one can have So-tan or Naru-tan. They're mine. They're only allowed to love me and one another. Seraphol said dangerously, which they could tell she was serious. Strangely, there was an ominous aura around her. Naruto refrained from looking at her like she was crazy. What? Only love her? And will allow me and Sona to? No. No way in hell. Seraphol looked down at her newest siblings. That's a rather interesting feature. Whisker marks? Sarah, first calm down. Mira looked down at her son. I'm rather confused, but an interesting feature, nonetheless. Also, Seraphol, I think you're being a bit too much. Mira flicked Seraphol on her forehead to get her to calm down. Anyways, just be a good big sister for them, okay? Mira could only sigh at Seraphol's antics. You gotcha. The miracle Levi-tan will be the best Oni-chan ever. I'll love them both. Make sure they fall in love with me. So, I can only have them all to myself. Seraphol smiled as she turned back to her siblings. She kissed Sona on the cheek, who didn't resist. Seraphol turned to Naruto. Come here, Naru-tan. Let Oni-chan kiss you. Seraphol leaned in and kissed his cheek. Shu tilde. Shu tilde. Shu tilde. Seraphol continued to kiss Naruto's cheek. Mira nodded her head. She didn't notice that right away, but the whisker marks do make him more adorable. Unusual trait, but I don't mind. Makes him look cuter anyways. Aw, so cute. Seraphol began to rub her cheek up against Naruto's. Baby Naruto stared up at his big sister, rather annoyed by her antics. When Seraphol went to rub her cheek up against Naruto again, Naruto's arms moved up, stopping her cheek from getting closer. Seraphol flinched back in horror. What is this? Why is Naru-tan like this? I want to kiss you. Is that so wrong? Seraphol looked like she was going to be on the verge of tears. Seraphol went to give Naruto another hug, but yet he still resisted. Seraphol had to be careful since Naruto was still a baby. Seraphol's continuous advances and attempts to show affection to Naruto were failing. Seraphol. Chronic had a sweat mark appear on his forehead watching his eldest daughter. Seraphol was currently crying her eyes out. Oh no. Naru-tan doesn't like me. Tears began shooting out of Seraphol's eyes as she fell to her knees. She laid on her stomach and began to swing her fists and feet up and down while crying. WWWAAAAA. Both baby Naruto and Sona watched in confusion as Seraphol continued to let out a tantrum. Mira slowly sat up in bed. She held Naruto in her left arm and Sona in her right. Mira extended her left arm out for Naruto to get closer to Seraphol. Naruto did understand one thing: he wasn't used to being coddled. At least like this, because he wasn't coddled this much in his previous life. Then again, it seems like she is his big sister. So, he probably should be nice and let it happen, for now at least. Seraphol looked up from her incessant crying and finally stopped. Baby Naruto reached out and grabbed a lock of hair and began to shake his hand up and down. Naruto said nothing, but he continued to shake her hand and began to kick his feet, looking at his elder sister. Suddenly, Seraphol made a complete 180 as she screamed, Kya. He's shaking Oni-chan's hair. He tried to cheer me up. Seraphol scooped Naruto up into her arms, twirling him around in the air. She then pulled him into a hug, smothering him in between her chest. Naruto began to squirm for air, which his parents saw. Seraphol, you're smothering him to death. He needs air to breathe. Mira deadpanned as Seraphol halted for a moment. Oh? Seraphol looked down to see a blue-faced Naruto struggling to breathe. Oh Satans. Seraphol pulled Naruto away, finally allowing him to breathe. Seraphol began to apologize as she handed Naruto back to their mother. Seraphol then asked, so, who is the oldest of the two? Seraphol asked curiously. Naruto is the new heir to the Sitri clan. I'm sure he'll grow up big and strong. Chronic smirked happily. He couldn't wait to see how strong Naruto would grow up to be. Backquote. 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 Time skip 4 years. Naruto and Sona, 4 years old. Naruto found himself in Sona's room playing school. Naruto was currently Sona's student who was teaching Naruto and the rest of the class on history.
Naruto looked left and right. His classmates were all of Sona's stuffed animals. They ranged from rabbits to dogs, cats, foxes, and her favorite, a horse.
She even had a child-size horse that was just a tad shorter than Naruto. Sona was teaching everyone about the history of devils. Their mother Mira was very adamant about them learning the history of the devil in the underworld as early as possible. Naruto always wondered how Sona was able to enjoy retaining all that information. Naruto had to admit that even he learned more than he did when he was a kid back in the elemental nations. However, he wasn't nearly as smart as she was, he was battle smart though. However, that will come in the future later. Nonetheless, the two are opposites in certain areas, and that makes him proud that she is his sister. This go around, his mother didn't tolerate the lack of tact that is needed as a noble. Their studious mother, mainly for Naruto, drilled those lessons into him. Well, Sona was also quite adamant he did the same. Naruto was genuinely curious about the culture of the devils and how they lived. Though Mira continued to teach them, it really confused Naruto. Naruto never understood all the concepts of the way their devil society is like. Oh yeah, no one mentioned to Naruto that he be reincarnated into the literate devil. With all the history lessons that Naruto learned about, he always voiced his opinions to his mother. Naruto had to be careful how he said something because he still retained the memories and such older thinking from his previous life. So, he would question the things his mother would tell him, no matter what she always told him. It's always good to ask questions like that because challenging the way of our society is. It's good to try to find new change and help our species grow. Just then Naruto was cut from his thoughts. Elder brother, are you paying attention? Sona scolded him playfully as she pointed her yard ruler at Naruto, which was an inch or two from his nose. Naruto held her hands up in defense. I am Sona, honest, we were talking about the previous Maos before the Civil War. Lucifer, Beelzebub, Leviathan, and Asmodeus. Naruto swore Sona was more like their mother than himself and Seraphol combined. Sona, thankfully, was satisfied with his answer. I'm watching you, elder brother, good job, but please pay attention. Sona then returned to her lecture, going on to the lesson she had planned. The two then decided to break for recess or lunch for Naruto because his stomach was growling. The good thing is his crazy infatuation with ramen wasn't as strong as it used to be. However, he definitely didn't mind having it after all their mother showed it to them. Naruto and Sona went to the dining table and waited for their chefs to bring the food. After some minutes they delivered the food to them. Naruto learned proper eating etiquette which allowed him to enjoy ramen. Sona piped up and said, I still don't understand what you find so fascinating about this ramen, elder brother. Sona shook her head as she bit into a deli sandwich the cook prepared for her. Naruto shook his head in disappointment. It's truly not that bad, even mother likes it once in a while. Besides, my elder sister told me about how mother came up with my name. Naruto picked some up with his chopsticks and ate some noodles. He placed them back down and moved his bowl to Sona. Would you like some? Sona sighed and shook her head at her brother's antics. Thanks. Sona had to admit, ramen wasn't half bad. Guess, she just really enjoys it since they've all had time for a family dinner. When they would have ramen, Sona had to admit it brought her happiness. Since it would bring memories of their times as a family, they ate ramen. Whether it was Naruto playing around with their father by sneezing ramen noodles out of their noses, to Seraphol and Naruto putting chopsticks in between their nostrils and low lips. Sona leaned forward and took a bite off of her brother's chopsticks. Sona began to chew the soft noodles with the warm taste and broth from the bowl. Sona took a moment to take the food in and nodded her head. I'll admit, just having it brings back good memories. Sona wiped her face with a napkin. But you shouldn't have it so often, mother and I have told you so, don't forget it. Sona said sternly. Naruto pouted as he crossed his arms over his chest. Why do you do this to your poor big brother? Sona, you're so cold. Besides, it's my first bowl this week. Also, don't forget the time me and father got you to laugh that one time. You shot out ramen noodles from your nose. Naruto chuckled, reminding Sona of that memory. Sona faltered a bit and her cheeks turned red a bit. She fixed her glasses to her face and turned to the side. That was something different. Sona pointed her finger at Naruto as she puffed her cheeks out. Sona then sighed and relented. Just don't go overboard, okay? Sona went to get up from her seat, but the doors were slammed open. Naruto and Sona turned their heads to find their elder sister, Seraphol, running into the room. Hi Yaso-tan. Naru-tan. Oni-chan found some time away from her Mao duties. I came here to spend time with you guys. Seraphol came skipping over with a happy smile on her face. Before Sona could try to leave, Seraphol wrapped her arm around Sona's neck and pulled her into a hug. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So, apparently, devils have a natural ability to learn languages. Well, at least able to listen to other languages and are able to understand them. When conversing, they can speak as if they know how to speak the specific language. Currently, Seraphol has picked up Japanese without needing to use the language ability that all devils possess. It was rather interesting though in the beginning that Naruto actually couldn't understand his family as a baby. Then again, you're a baby. Naruto just learned what language most devils speak anyway. Naruto began to channel magic into his hand and had a magic circle appear below him. Naruto tried to leave, but a hand grabbed his shoulder.
Before Naruto knew it, the side of his face was smooshed up against Seraphal's left breast while Sona was squished up against the other. Elder sister, W, what are you doing? Naruto stammered out as he gasped for a breath.
Naruto pulled his head out from her breast. Elder sister, please. Sona's plea was dismissed by Seraphol as she began to march out of the dining hall. The three then were teleported to the bathing area. Seraphol said, "Come on Naruto-tan. So tan, let's bathe together, like we used to. Oh, that reminds me. Start calling me Oni-chan. It's cuter. You should call me that from now on. That's what people call big sisters in Japan." Seraphol began to unbutton her shirt and pulled her skirt down. Naruto began to blush as he covered up his face and turned away. Elder sister. What are you thinking? I'm a guy so. Seraphol said, doesn't matter tilde. Seraphol used magic to lock the door and Naruto tried to yank it open. Let's go. Seraphol chirped out as she grabbed Naruto's shirt and spun him around using her Satan strength. As Naruto spun around, his clothes went flying off his body until he came to a halt. Seraphol snickered as she looked down. My Naruto-tan.
It seems little Naruto-tan is growing healthy.
Seraphol took out a camera and took a picture of the dizzy Naruto. I need to document this. Seraphol snapped pictures of Naruto in his daze. Sona blushed bright red as she shouted, Elder sister. This is highly inappropriate. We are girls and elder brother is a guy, so he should. Come on So-tan. No need to be such a Debbie Downer. Seraphol pouted as she had her arm around her little sister's arm. Just because you're jealous of my massively bigger and sexier figure.
It's understandable, but I am willing to make an exception for you and Naruto-tan.
Let Oni-chan love you too with all her love tilde. Seraphol cheered as she then spun Sona around as her clothes went flying off. Before Sona and Naruto knew it, they found themselves sitting in front of a showerhead. They were each sitting there as Seraphol was scrubbing their backs with soap. Naruto kept his head down as he blushed as his sister Seraphol scrubbed his back. For the beginning at least, Seraphol continued to scrub his back normally as she hummed a motherly tune. Sona smiled. This isn't as indecent and perverted as I thought elder sister would be. Naruto relaxed for now as his sister scrubbed his back, but suddenly he found mounds of flesh on his back. Elder sister, what are you doing? Naruto turned his head to the right as Seraphol was giggling and smiling. I'm cleaning you up Naruto-tan. Seraphol smiled as she leaned in, kissing his cheek. Tilde. Seraphol giggled as she moved up and down on Naruto's back with her breasts. Naruto didn't know what to do as his face blushed hard. This is your sister. This is your elder sister. What the heck is she trying to do? Naruto felt some jiggling on his lower half as Seraphol got past the towel on his waist. Seraphol said, oh hey. Little Naruto-tan is awake. A lot bigger than I thought for a 4-year-old. Seraphol grinned as she held his member in her hand. Wait, your balls have dropped. How is that possible? Seraphol was a little surprised, but she shrugged her shoulders. Well,
it just means Naruto-tan and I can start a family together sooner. Naruto began to panic as he turned to Sona for help. Sona, I need. Naruto deadpanned as she saw Sona flat on her back. Great. Naruto then turned to his sister Seraphol, elder sister.
We need to stop this. I'm too young. Naruto's and Sona's mother made sure to inform them what the birds and the bees were. That's due to their quick advancements in their lessons. Seraphol giggled as she crept forward as her eyes had stars overlay her pupils. Don't worry Naruto-tan. Your Oni-chan will take great care of you. That's because you can only love your Oni-chan. I will only let you put a baby in me. Wham! Seraphol froze mid-sentence as a large bump appeared on her head. She fell to the floor and passed out.
Naruto saw Mizore there holding a bat made of ice. She sighed. Well, at least we were able to stop her. Lady Sitri said Seraphol was up to something. Mizore moved her lollipop from one side of her mouth to the other. Did she do anything, Lord Naruto? Mizor asked worriedly for Naruto's and Sona's innocence. Naruto fell on his ass back on the seat as he sighed. Thanks Mizor-sensei, elder sister can be too much sometimes. Though I'm worried she might be labeled as a sex offender. Esteth even came walking in. She picked Seraphol up and placed her on her shoulders. Sorry about that. Regardless of what happened, you may resume. I will inform Lady Sitri. Lady Seraphol must get back to her duties. Naruto got a full view of Seraphol's ass, which he had to admit was a nice shape and firmness. Well, it seems you've grown a little bit earlier than you should have, Lord Naruto. Esteth giggled as she pointed out Naruto's current boner. Naruto growled out, hiding it. It's elder sister's fault she did this. Naruto sat down trying to make it go down. Mizor walked up and placed a hand on Naruto's head. Don't worry, we'll protect your innocence. Wait, Lady Seraphol already probably horrified you. So, we'll protect your chastity from her. Mizor rubbed Naruto's head and then began to walk out with Esteth following suit. Naruto sighed as he sat up. He walked over and wrapped his around his waist again. He walked over and covered Sona and tapped her shoulder. Sona, wake up. Soon Sona opened her eyes slowly. Brother, what happened? Sona sat up slowly as she kept the towel that was on her body to keep herself covered up. Naruto shook his head. Don't worry about it so much, Seraphol being Seraphol. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Sona rubbed the bridge of her nose. I see. Sona seriously doesn't understand Seraphol whatsoever. Well, we're here, so why don't we enjoy ourselves then? Care to wash my back? Sona lowered her towel from her back but kept her front up. Naruto smiled. Sure sis, anything for ya. Naruto picked up a bar of soap and began to scrub Sona's back. This was the type of closeness Naruto liked, not what Seraphol wanted from him. That stuff isn't what he is into. Let's just say, Seraphol got verbal lashing and scolding from their mother. Naruto stood there with Sona as they watched in shock. Seraphol was punished for not being allowed to see Naruto and Sona for 2 years, which Seraphol did not take kindly to. She began to hit her fists onto the ground crying like a child. She said, and I quote, no Naruto-tan, no So-tan, no life. Backquote, 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 backquote. Time skip 4 years, Naruto and Sona, 8 years old. I will now be using Japanese terminology. Naruto found himself in his room in the Sitri castle. Naruto was sitting at his desk playing around with his magic. Naruto found out he had tools for demonic magic, though his levels of magic were quite beyond the normal high-class devils. Just over the course of a few years, Naruto's popularity and standing were beginning was being noticed. That's only because of recent events in which he began training in his demonic powers. Many other devils heard of Naruto's and Sona's strong magic power, but Naruto stood apart from his sister. It was the training from Esteth, Seraphol's queen, Behemoth, Seraphol's rook, and her pawn Mizor Shirayuki. Let's not forget their mother and father. In their spare time they trained them in their power. They trained Naruto and Sona in their demonic power, and Naruto was noticed to be especially gifted with hand-to-hand combat, which was left to Behemoth to train Naruto in that. Naruto recently finished a long study session with his mother who was teaching him and his sister Sona about the underworld. He was currently in his room playing chess against his twin sister Sona. For whatever reason, Kami decided that Naruto inherited his ridiculous luck from his previous life. Naruto was never one for chess, granted he knew how to play. Naruto learned that he was very smart for his age, but Sona was even more so. Sona was more analytical and a stronger strategist than her twin. Though, when Naruto and Sona faced one another in chess it drove Sona up the wall. Naruto let a small chuckle out. Come on Sona, this is our 6th game. Naruto placed a hand on his cheek. He loved his sister dearly, but sometimes she was a bit much. I will beat you this time, Onisama. Brains will always beat brawn over a strategy game like this. Sona moved her bishop into position. Naruto sighed as he moved his knight. Checkmate. Naruto finished as he fell on his back on the bed. You said that the last 249 games of chess that we played, I've won 188 and you've won 61. You won every 60 games. After that game began to beat you until I let you win that one game. Sona clicked her teeth annoyed. Dang it, Onisama. How do you keep doing this? I never see any form of strategy or anything. When did you get so good? You've begun to beat me ever since I hit 60 wins. Naruto rolled his eyes. She was a persistent person. When Sona began to realize how she had to act, she began to change slowly. He loves his sister dearly, but he missed it when he ran around the house giving her a piggyback ride. Playing hide and seek with her, tag, catch, or watch some movies and TV shows together. Sona huffed out a sigh. Fine, I'll concede for now, but I will figure you out somehow. Naruto sat back up as he reached out and placed a hand on Sona's head, patting it. I'm sure you'll beat me again one day, Sona. When I let you win that one time, you made me promise to always try my hardest against you. Naruto smiled as he looked at his sister. She had black hair which was in a bob cut, and violet eyes. Naruto turned his head to look at the mirror. Naruto also had black hair like his sister. Though his hair was still its usual spiky design, some of his hair is longer on the sides. His hair was very similar to how his father Minato had it when he was still his son. Naruto then also had light blue eyes similar to his father, while Sona had their mother's violet eyes. Sona simply puffed her cheeks out, but she let a sigh and decided to drop it. Sona looked at the door as it opened. Their mother came walking in. Sona, Naruto, what are you two up to? Mira came walking into the room and stopped about halfway once she was in the room. Beat her again in chess. She's getting better. Just can't understand my strategy. Naruto chuckled as he placed his hands behind his head. Sona pouted as she looked at her twin. Anyways, is there something you need, mother? Sona turned her head from her brother to her mother. No, not at the moment, but I figured I'd come here to inform you two of something. I heard a lot about your progression in your training in demonic power. Mira smiled as she motioned for them to come to her. Come with me. I wish to hear about your training with Seraphol's peerage members. She turned and began to walk out of the room as Naruto and Sona hopped off the bed and trotted up to their mother. So Sona, how about you? I've been told you've been heavily focusing on your magical abilities. Sona nodded her head as she fixed her glasses to her face. Yes, Okasama, as my level of demonic power is lower than I want it to be. I can perform a lot of the techniques I've been shown by Esteth-sensei and Mizor-sensei. Though my hand-to-hand is much to be desired, Behemoth-sensei has been doing his best. I see. Naruto, how about you? Mira turned to her one and only son Naruto to hear about his progress. I've been picking up hand-to-hand easily with Behemoth-sensei, as well as learning water magic from Esteth-sensei and Mizor-sensei. Naruto smiled brightly as he thought back to the new moves that they taught them. I'm hoping to eventually advance my skills further and get stronger. Mira wondered, is there a reason why you want to get stronger, Naruto? Mira turned her head towards her son and slightly tilted her head in curiosity. Sona fixed her glasses and turned her head to Naruto. Naruto scratched his cheek and thought about it for a few seconds. An image of Kasumi flashed through his mind, along with Minato and Kushina. Naruto smiled. Well, I guess there are a few reasons why I want to get stronger. Naruto needed to come up with a reason for one of them. Well, I read up on some stuff about philosophies that you taught us, mother. I want to get stronger to protect the ones that I care about. I've begun to believe that you become stronger when you have someone or something you want to protect. Naruto smiled as he moved in between his sister Sona and his mother and pulled them into a hug. Of all the enemies that us devils have, I would like to get as strong as possible. I'm sure there might be a day when I need to fight. Better protect someone like Sona or members of my peerage. Oh, that also goes for you and Otu-sama as well. Sona smiled and blushed a bit. Thank you, brother, I promise to help protect you too. That way we can protect the people precious together. Sona leaned in, pushing her cheek up against Naruto's cheek with a grin on her face. Mira smiled at the scene and the reason for Naruto's desire to get stronger. Well, that's a wonderful reason, Naruto. I'm quite happy to hear that. Not my devils around today are like you or Sona. For now, let us head to the dining hall. It is supper time. The three Sitri members went to the dinner table and sat down to eat. Kronak smiled at his two twins, Sona-chan. Naruto-kun, what have you two been up to? Kronak has been pretty busy lately managing the Sitri clan in their land. Been a few days since he has seen his kids, but he has heard about their training. Naruto decided to speak up first. Sona and I have been continuing our studies with Kasama when we're with her. Other than that, we train with Onisama's peerage members. Esdeath Sensei helps Sona with sword techniques. I've done more hand-to-hand fighting with Behemoth Sensei. Mizor Sensei and Esdeath Sensei teach us how to manipulate water. I'm quite proficient with water, but I've been trying hard to reach out to other elements too. Another element I've been pretty good at is lighting, and the next is fire, though earth is by far my weakest. Then Behemoth Sensei has been a great hand-to-hand instructor. Oh, I can't forget wind isn't too bad, but it's not as good as my lighting and fire magic. I see, that's wonderful. What about you, Sona-chan? Kronak smiled brightly at his next child to see what she had been doing. Well, Otusama, I've been doing the same as Onisama, but learning to use a katana with Esdeath Sensei. Learning water magic alongside Onisama has been challenging. Onisama and I have vastly different size monocools than one another. However, I seem to have better control and can perform techniques after they have been taught to us. Tough as it is, I've been learning hand-to-hand alongside Onisama with Behemoth Sensei, but he is quite the sensei. I don't have the stamina as Onisama does, and it makes it hard for me to strictly use hand-to-hand. So, I practice mainly throwing to and redirecting incoming attacks. That way I can keep my distance where I feel most comfortable. I will not stop training, but I will recognize it won't be one of my stronger suits. Sona fixed her glasses to her face. Then there's the issue of trying to beat Onisama in chess. Sona said embarrassingly. Sona and Naruto beat their parents at chess pretty easily, but the only time Sona beat Naruto in chess is when he let her. Did I mention that Sona didn't speak to Naruto for weeks after that? Kronak chuckled listening to what his children had been up to. That's good to hear, Sona. I'm sure you'll make us proud. If you're anything like your Kasama and Onisama, I'm sure you'll become one heck of a powerhouse with water magic. Kronak had a big grin as he looked at Sona. Naruto smiled hearing his father praise Sona for her hard work. Naruto understands how hard it has been for Sona to try to keep up with him. Kronak turns to Naruto. Naruto, my boy, I've heard how much you've grown in the past few weeks. I'm proud of how far you've come. Behemoth tells me the natural strength and demonic prowess that you possess. Naruto chuckled as he rubbed the back of his head. Don't be like that, Otusama. I might be better at fighting. However, Sona is better at the strategy stuff than I am. Naruto didn't want Sona to feel like she had to good as he did, but he wanted her to know that everyone is good in their way. Sona and I work well together when we sparred against Behemoth Sensei or Esdeath Sensei. We put up a good fight. Though we seem to struggle on our own. Naruto chuckled as he looked towards Sona. Sona's the brains, I'm the brawn, and I usually can adjust if Sona needs me to. So, yeah, if anything, the credit should also go to Sona on that. Sona blushed at the comment from Naruto. She appreciated how much he appreciated her help. Thank you, Naruto Onisama. Sona had a smile appear across her face. I think we work well. I can't wait to get our first peerage members. Kronak smiled. I see. I'm glad to hear it. Serafall comes around again when you both turn 11 to go to Ajuka to get your first peerage members. Kronak gestured to the butlers to serve them their dinner. Kronak was curious and wanted to know more about their schooling. How's your schooling going? Naruto seemed to chuckle a bit, rubbing his head as Sona narrowed her eyes at him. Naruto Onisama slacks off too much. He puts in more effort training than he does schooling. Either I or Okasama have to make sure he does his schoolwork. Sona fixed her glasses to her face. That's the one thing I don't get about Onisama. Naruto looked at Sona with a betrayed look on his face. Come on, Sona, no need to be so harsh about it. When you make me, I do my work. Plus, I always do well on my exams and homework. Naruto pouted cutely as he crossed his arms over his chest. Yeah, you wait until the night before they're due to do your work and studying. Sona shook her head. When I'm there, I'm able to make you do your work. Sona smirked. She had a secret weapon to use against Naruto all the time. Naruto glared at Sona for that. Come on, Sona. I'm your Oni-chan. When you use that, Naruto saw Sona making a cute face with a small smile on her face. Somehow Sona learned to make her eyes gleam, and her bob haircut made her look too cute. Naruto couldn't bring himself to continue. Dang it, Sona. It's hard to say no to you. That's so mean. Using your cuteness against your loving and caring Oni-chan. Toying with my emotions too. Naruto hit his fist into his thigh. Mira giggled at her children's antics. I'm just glad we nicked the pranking habit of yours in the bud. Mira placed a hand on her son's head, petting it. She allowed her fingers to gently flow through her son's hair. Regardless, why don't we all enjoy the food? I want to hear what you guys plan to do for your schooling in the future. Naruto let out a groan as he hung his head thinking about more schooling. He and Sona were already taking middle school classes once they turned 8, and the two excelled. Naruto wondered if it was due to genes that his parents were smart, so it was passed down. He definitely wasn't as smart as he is now as he was back in the elemental nation. Not only that, but the schooling here is much more advanced than it was in the elemental nation. So, it was hard to compare. Backquote, 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 backquote. Time skip month later beach. Naruto and his family went to the beach to enjoy a vacation for the very first time. Naruto and Sona were taught to swim thanks to the help of Esdeath and Mizor who gave them tips. Eventually, they finished up learning and got time to enjoy themselves. Naruto was sitting next to his mother who was sunbathing, and his father was on the other side. Naruto also did some research into senjutsu in this world, and chakra is a thing, but they consider using chakra in any aspect as a form of senjutsu. Using chakra or senjutsu to enhance your body is considered chuki. Naruto found out that the mechanics were completely different than in the old world. However, no known humans can utilize it. Very rare for devils to use it, but it is most common for yokai to use it. Therefore, there is no such thing as sage mode in any type of archive. Though now that Naruto thought about it, he never got the chance to say goodbye. Say goodbye to any of his friends, Tsunade who had been like an aunt or even dare say second mother to him, and Kasumi. His mother and Kasumi, he just hopes, in the end, something will be figured out. He missed his family dearly, his little sister, his parents, Kurenai, Kakashi, Anko, Yamato, Asuma, and even might die for how annoying and incessant he was. Especially Yugito, his lover. Naruto was one of the few men to accept Yugito for being a Jinchuriki. The two loved one another very dearly, and Naruto had planned to marry her. He had a ring and everything. Naruto thought back to when he was the Jonin sensei of Team 7 with Kasumi, Sasuke, and Sakura on his team. He missed them greatly, and to think Sasuke killed Sakura and left the village. Even after Itachi sacrificed all that, it was hard to believe. He even came back to kill everyone back in the leaf, and he himself was no exception. Naruto thought back to the scene again, as he held his sister's injured body in his arms. His father was off on the side lying dead on the ground. Kushina, their mother, stood next to Kasumi defensive of her, however, not without tears running down her cheeks as she looked at Naruto. Naruto was angry that he couldn't bring himself to kill Sasuke, and that hesitation cost Naruto and his family their father. Kushina herself was unable to do anything as she was already 7 months pregnant with her next child. Naruto looked over to the right to find Tsunade dead, and most importantly his lover. She lay dead with a Chidori in a hole in her chest. Naruto couldn't stop the tears. He felt as if his entire world was ripped from him and felt terrible pain, the same pain when Itachi seemed to go astray. Sasuke stood there holding a Chidori in his hand, a Chidori that was infused with his Amaterasu as he held his hand out to his left. I finally got my first bit of revenge for Itachi. It's like the disgrace of the Uchiha clan is being cleansed. Like I'm separating the Uchiha clan from the Ronin ninja world. You might even say it's what Konoha always wanted. You always repudiated the Uchiha clan, so now we will disappear from your memories just like you always wanted. When I kill everyone in Konoha, by severing the bond, we will be purified. That will be the true revival of the Uchiha clan. In the memory, Naruto remembers seeing Sasuke bring the Chidori to his chest. He knew Sasuke had grown into a powerful shinobi. After all, Naruto was the one who trained him. However, this couldn't have prepared Naruto enough for his battle against Sasuke. Naruto, with all his feelings of love for Sasuke, couldn't bear to kill Sasuke and not feel ashamed or guilt. So he knew that their battle would end with them both dead. Naruto knew that his mother had an unborn little brother. Naruto remembers standing up on his own 2 feet as a tri-pronged kunai appeared in his hand. Naruto remembers only seeing red. Before he knew it, Naruto had a Rasengan that he drove into Sasuke's chest. As his Chidori rang out like a flock of birds in his chest where his heart was. He could only vaguely remember seeing his mother and Kasumi running toward him before he fell to the ground. They screaming something, but he wasn't sure what it was. He just mouthed to them that he loved them very much and that he was sorry. It was a death he deserved for breaking his best friend's promise. He killed his little brother, even in the end no matter how much red Naruto saw. He helped Itachi raise that boy when he wasn't around and taught him. Helped him train to get stronger alongside Kasumi. What did he do wrong? What caused Sasuke to lead so astray? No matter how many people of Konoha hated Sasuke, no matter who wished for Sasuke's death, it could never change the fact that Naruto loved Sasuke like a little brother. He could still remember the voice from Sasuke being only in 10th grade saying, "Naruto ni-chan, can you teach me some cool jutsu like Itachi ni-chan?" He could remember the innocent and excited face Sasuke had. Never could Naruto ever imagine that the little brother he helped raise and died. To be the one to kill his father, Tsunade, his lover, and almost his mother, Kasumi, and his unborn baby brother. If anything, it relieved Naruto that Kasumi survived, since their father, the fateful knight, split the 9 tails into 2 halves, Yang and Kasumi and Yin back into his wife. It was clear to him that Kasumi was able to heal thanks to Sasuke missing any vital organs on Kasumi. Just then Naruto was snapped from his concentration by a shaken hearing. "Hey Naruto, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Naruto opened his eyes to find Seraph looking at her little brother worriedly. Naruto didn't even notice it. He wiped his tears as he smiled. "I'm fine, Onisama. Just glad we're all able to spend quality time with one another. Making me think about everything that has happened the past few years made me really think." Naruto tried to reassure his sister that he was okay. Mira, knowing her children, looked at Naruto a little confused. Not once has Naruto ever cried. Even as a baby he never cried. Mira always wondered about her little boy. Why he turned out the way he is today. He'd always seemed aware of his surroundings ever since he was a baby. Seraph didn't like Naruto's answer, but she decided to go with it. True, everyone has been busy. Even their mother could only find time recently to tutor them before having to go back to her duties as the lady of the Sitri clan. Seraph pulled her little brother into a hug, resting his head on her breasts. There, Naruto, take it easy, okay? This is family time, so let's enjoy it." Naruto nodded his head. These were the times that Seraph did what a big sister was supposed to do. Naruto returned the hug, earning an even happier chirp from Seraph, who began to pull Naruto in tighter, forgetting that her breasts began to smother Naruto. Sona noticed this pretty quickly. "Onisama, let Onisama go. You're smothering him again." Sona ran up to Seraph to pry Naruto out of her grasp. Mira only chuckled at her children's antics, and there goes Sona scolding Seraph to stop smothering her son to death. So Mira decided to intervene. Sarah honey, you're going to suffocate your Naruto if you keep hugging him like that." Cronak could only deadpan at Seraph's actions. She was way too strong of a sis and broke on. Seraph quickly let go as Naruto fell on his knees, catching his breath. Seraph began to panic as she comically began to bounce left, right, behind, and in front of Naruto, panicking. "Naruto, are you alright?" "Oni-chan is sorry. Naruto began to catch his breath and slowly stood back up. Seraph bounced back in front of Naruto as she said, "Oni-chan is sorry. I forget sometimes." "Oni-chan just loves cuddling her so tan and Naruto." Seraph began to tear up while holding her hands up to her chin. Her eyes became big and watery, making it look like Seraph was about to break down and cry. Naruto just patted her head. "It's okay, Onisama. I know you love us very much. Even though sometimes it's a bit excessive." Naruto turned his head to meet Sona's eyes. He continued to turn to his mother and father. "Yeah, I'm just glad we're here together as a family. Oh, not forgetting about you three. S-Death Sensei, Mizor Sensei, Behemoth Sensei." Naruto waved to Seraph's peerage members, who all waved back at Naruto with smiles on their faces. Backquote. Underworld 6 months later. Naruto and Sona have continued to train under their senseis and study under their mother's tutelage. Today was a special day for Naruto and Sona in the underworld because they were at the entrance of their house waiting for guests. Their father, Cronak, had invited one of his closest friends over to the house. His wife and his child are going to be visiting, and Naruto was a little more anxious to meet new people. Mainly because he's known his family, the maids, and butlers for years. Not that he doesn't mind their company or anything, but it's nice and refreshing to meet new faces and people. Though, there has been something itching at Naruto lately. His mother recently got around to teaching them more about the Ukai faction. Though Naruto was cut from his thoughts when a red magic circle appeared in the middle of the front room. Naruto heard a voice come from the magic circle. At the same time, the magic circle floated into the air and separated into 2 separate magic circles. One going to the floor and one going up into the air. Once the glow dispersed, 3 people stepped out of the circle. Cronak. "My old friend, how are the new little devils you got treating ya?" Naruto immediately knew who they were thanks to his mother's tutoring. The man who stood next to his wife and behind his daughter had the appearance of a middle-aged man, with long crimson hair that is tied into a loose ponytail with a black hairband. He has bright blue eyes just like his daughter and his oldest child Searsex. Naruto knew him as Zeodicus Grimori. His wife who stood next to him was his wife Venelana Grimori. An ex-member of the Bale family, known for their destruction magic, looked very similar to her daughter. She had shorter flaxen hair and violet eyes. Due to her being devil like everyone else, she looked the same age as Seraphol and their mother. But that's what is usually common amongst all devils. Cronak lifted his arm and greeted his friend walking over to him. Zeodicus. "Good to see you too. Glad to see that your daughter hasn't driven you too crazy." The two went into a bro hug as they smirked at one another. Zeodicus smiled and said, "Well, old friend, it seems you've multiplied by 2 the last time I visited." Zeodicus shifted their bro hug to face Cronak's new children. "Well, hello you two. Who might you two be?" Zeodicus played coy, acting like he didn't know their names. Naruto and Sona both politely bowed to Zeodicus. "Hello, Lord and Lady Grimori-sama. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Naruto Sitri, the next head of the Sitri household. I'm sure you know who we are. I'm sure many know me and my sister, Sona, by the nickname, the Miracle Sitri Twins." Sona blushed a bit at the nickname Naruto threw in, but it was true that Naruto and Sona were known as that in the underworld. Because when it was heard that Mira was having twins, it was extremely welcoming and promising for all the full-blooded devils. Having one child is great, but having twins is astounding for all devils. That's due to the devil's low fertility rate. Sona then said her piece. "Lord and Lady Grimori-sama, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Sona Sitri, the twin sister of Naruto Sitri. Please pardon my Onisama's ridiculous nickname for us." Sona jabbed her elbow into Naruto's side, causing him to glare at her. Mira sighed, seeing the twins. They usually do this, and Naruto takes any opportunity to use their nickname to tease Sona. Venelana smiled as she walked up to them. "It's a pleasure to meet you both. You're both so well-spoken. I am Venelana Grimori. You may call me Oba-chan or Vena-Oba-chan if you wish." Venelana placed 2 hands on top of their heads, rubbing them. "You two look so adorable." Venelana then turned her head to the side as Naruto was met with a pair of blue eyes that quickly left him to meet his parents' eyes. The girl with blue eyes smiled and bowed respectfully. "Hello, Lady and Lord Sitri-sama, Naruto, and Sona. My name is Rias Grimori, heiress of the Grimori family. It's a pleasure to meet both of you." Rias for now is a beautiful young girl wearing a purple frilly dress. Rias then turned to Naruto and Sona. "Hello, it's nice to meet you too. I hope we can become good friends." Rias smiled at the two. She was nervous to make new friends. It was something she was hoping they would become friends together. Naruto was happy to meet Rias and her parents. Hello, Rias. I'm sure we'll be great friends. Come on, Sona, say hi. Naruto gestured to her sister to say something. Sona was a little unsure as she looked at Naruto nervously, and then looked at Rias. Sona walked up to Naruto and hid half of herself behind him. Naruto was a little surprised by this, to think that Sona was so unsure about a new friend. My name is Sona, nice to meet you. I'm sure we can become friends. Kronak, Zeodicus, Mira, and Venelana chuckled watching their children interact with one another. Venelana then said, kids, why don't you all go have some fun and play for a bit? We grown-ups have something important to talk about. Okay, Okara-sama, come on, let's go. Rias jumped forward excitedly as she grabbed onto Naruto's hand and then grabbed Sona's. Naruto laughed a bit as Rias was acting just how Kasumi used to be. As Naruto was dragged off in the distance by Rias, he looked to Sona to find her flustered and confused by this rambunctious girl's actions. It'll be good for Sona to make a friend her age. Especially if it's a girl. Once the three made it further into the house, Naruto spoke up. Rias, do you by chance know where we're going? Naruto said jokingly, which caused the heiress of the Grimori family to freeze on the spot. Rias turned her head a bit to face them and giggled. Oops. She closed one eye as she stuck out her tongue to the side. Well, where do you guys want to go? What do you all want to do? Rias asked as she twirled around in a circle. Naruto had to admit, she was cute along with Sona. He was pretty sure a lot of people were going to find Sona and Rias quite attractive once they grew up. Well, we got a library, the training field where Sona and I train with our senseis when we get free time. Naruto placed his finger on his lip, tapping it and thinking of other things. We could teleport to the markets in town, but that's about it. We don't have a lot around here, some board games and stuff like that. Backquote. With the adults. The parents of the new generation of devils went into the family room. Kronak and Zeodicus sat next to each other while Venelana and Mira sat across from them on the other couch next to each other. Kronak started, so old friend, what can I help you with today? Zeodicus simply said, what I can't stop by and see how my best friend and his wife are doing. Of course, I'd love to hear about your kids. Yes, we've heard quite a lot about them, especially the nickname, the Miracle Sitri twins. A rather cute and interesting nickname, I have to say so myself. Venelana giggled into her hand at the cute nickname the two had. I'd love to hear what Sona and Naruto are like. Kronak snickered and said, first off, it was a nickname my son came up with, and it just stuck. A lot of nobility liked giving them such a nickname for the two. Now as for my little Sona is going to be a real beauty when she gets older. Kronak slapped his hand on his thigh. She's already very smart and intelligent, but the only person so far she hasn't beaten in chess is Naruto. Oh really? It seems he might be very bright and intelligent as well. Zeodicus was impressed that Sona was able to beat everyone else within the Sitri house, but Naruto, are you saying she beat everyone here? Kronak nodded his head. She's amazing when it comes to using her brain, very smart and intelligent. Kronak turned to his wife, giving her a wink. I know where she got that from. What of Naruto-kun? Venelana wondered curiously. If Sona hasn't beaten Naruto, how smart is he? Mira shook her head letting out a sigh. That boy is unlike most any devil I've ever seen. He's very polite, kind, and nice to everyone, though he has a bad habit of coming up with rude nicknames for those who he doesn't respect. Then cute and endearing nicknames for those who he cares for and likes. Like Behemoth, for example. Honey, what was the nickname, dear? Kronak deadpanned. Pretty sure it was Old Bones. Kronak scratched his head as he shook his head. He isn't the best when it comes to sitting still for hours on end studying. He'd rather be out knocking some heads together, but the kid is bright, very bright when it comes to fighting. He's got a strong body, and his magical power far exceeds mine when I was his age. Zeodicus placed a finger on his chin. Interesting, seems to have quite the potential. Mira nodded her head. I've seen them play many games. Naruto let her win once. She got very cross and angry with him. Mira shook her head laughing at how mad Sona was at that one time. She stopped talking to him for weeks. Since then Naruto has beaten her in every game, but I swear that sometimes, he seems older than he leads on. What do you mean by that? Venelana looked at Mira confused. When gave birth to him, he never cried. Not once until we were at the beach. It was the first time he ever cried. Mira placed a finger on her lower lip. Naruto has always been pretty mature for his age, and he acts childish for Sona's sake. He's always been curious about the other factions, the angels, and fallen angels. Especially the Yukai. He seems to be dead set on learning about senjutsu. Mira took a sip of tea they were served by their maids. I'm worried about what he wants to do in the future. Sometimes I wonder who my son is. That's how secretive he has been. Mira began to choke up as she wiped some tears. He's my own son. I gave birth to, yet I feel like I don't even know him. He's also been so aware of his surroundings, even dare say ever since I gave birth. Secretive, but you guys have been with him ever since he was born, right? Zeodicus was brought up confused by Myra's words. Well, that's the thing. Kronak added, and he continued from what his wife was saying. I'm ashamed of myself as a Tusan as well. I should know what my son wants. He should act happy and also be oblivious to things until he gets older. Yet, he is so aware, and he knows how to hide things well, in fact too well. Not only that, but Naruto is powerful, as his effect has greatly affected how Sona turned out to be. They aren't like the normal noble devils who act high and mighty all the time. Though for Naruto we worry about him because it feels like we don't entirely know who our Naruto is. Kronak has an upset look on his face. Zeodicus placed a hand on his friend's back. Old friend, I'm not sure how to feel. Though I can see it's affecting you, have you ever tried to ask him? Well, that's the thing, his choice of words is not ordinary, wise actually. I mean by the time he began training at 4 with Behemoth. Mira looks outside and says, Behemoth and Estek say that he has the eyes of a soldier. A soldier who has seen hell and has seen their loved one die before. Venelana was baffled by the words that came out of her best friend's mouth. I see, well I'm even unsure of what to say. For now, just keep an eye on him, if you need anything. Please don't hesitate to call us. Venelana placed a hand on Myra's lap as Mira wiped a tear from her eye. She was worried about her baby. Her Naruto has always been such a ray of sunshine, but there's something he is hiding. They just don't know how to approach him about it. Kronak shook his head and decided to change the subject. Well enough about us. Tell us, what about Rias? We want to learn what kind of girl she is. Maybe she and Naruto could end up together. Mira giggled and Venelana smiled quite happily at the idea of that. Zeodicus chuckled at that as he rubbed the back of his head. That's the thing, old friend. I was thinking, think you might be interested in making an arranged marriage between Naruto and Rias. Kronak's and Myra's eyes widened at the sudden proposition from the Grimori family. Kronak and Mira looked at one another and then back at their friends. Not that I wouldn't mind our kids being wedded together. But why? Ask us. Zeodicus was unsure of what to say until Venelana elbowed him in the side, causing him to flinch in pain. Ow. Okay, I'll say it. Zeodicus looked at his wife with a rather upset look on his face. She was so cruel to him sometimes. Well, long story short, Lord Phoenix proposed an arranged marriage between Rias and his third son Riser. You told him no, right? We've all heard how Riser has been growing up lately, right? Kronak looked at his best friend confused. I wouldn't even let that brat near my Sona with a 39.5-inch pole. Venelana angrily took over as her husband was being too slow. Thankfully, before he could say anything, I was able to speak up. Venelana crossed her arms under her breasts. I suggested to Lord Phoenix that we would discuss and talk about it. I said that we already had plenty of offers already, as you know we denied many. Though Lord Phoenix is a friend, of course, I mean we were all together during the Great War after all. Kronak rubbed the back of his neck, so we told him to let us think about it and talk to other people who would want Rias's hand in marriage. Mira nodded her head understanding the situation. Not a bad idea, assuming we all understand who Riser is and what he likes to do. I assume you're hoping my Naruto is a better match for her than him. Zeodicus and Venelana both nodded their heads as Cronak and Mira nodded in acceptance. Well, I have no issue with it. Cronak looked to Mira with his arms over his chest. I think it would be good if we help out our friends. If the two do so happen to fall head over heels for one another, I don't think it could be all too bad. Right. Mira smiled as she began to daydream. Ooh, cute little black-haired or red-haired grandbabies running around. Ah ha ha ha. Cronak, Mira, and Zeodicus all sweat dropped. Truly Mira just wanted to spoil her grandchildren rotten. It was no surprise to anyone. Everyone knows Mira has a weakness when it comes to family. Now that Cronak thinks of it, maybe that's where Serafal got it, albeit it being more extreme. Cronak smiled and said, why not, old friend? Of course, we should explain the situation to Naruto, Sona, and Rias. That way they're in the loop of everything. Good thing you married Venelon and Zeodicus. Otherwise, your ass would be grass once your little girl grew up. Backward, 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 backward. Flashback before Naruto was born. In the pool of souls that are to be created and born, they were floating aimlessly for their new host. Though there was a certain soul that seemed to have a red or a tie to it, the other souls were just waiting until it was their time to head down toward their new life. Whether it be a devil, angel, fallen, yokai, or even a vampire. Just then there was a cut in the dimension as a ghostly being appeared. The being had a translucent, ghostly demonic visage. It is much larger than an average human. It possesses long, shaggy, white hair, from which two red horns protrude, as well as purple-colored skin. It is draped in a large white kimono and carries a set of prayer beads. The Shinigami laughed as it floated up to the red glowing soul. Why hello there, Ddraig, a red dragon emperor. The being within the sacred gear could not hear the Shinigami. I've got a new body and soul for you to join. The one above all demands that this happens. You can thank the one above all for your chance of fate, better than this perverted fool, I'd say. Don't worry, this soul shall not die. The Shinigami began to shake its prayer beads as it stabbed its tanto into the soul and pulled Ddraig out. The Shinigami held the soul of the red dragon emperor up to his face. You'll find your new host in a new plane of existence. Fuse, join him, and become the strongest red dragon emperor to ever exist. The Shinigami then took his blade and sliced the rift open. It moved through the hole, disappearing to go meet where the other soul was. The Shinigami, where Naruto's soul is, approached the being which was a black mass and white teeth. The Shinigami took the red soul of Ddraig and placed it near Naruto. The Shinigami smiled as he felt the sacred gear fuse with Naruto's soul. Commence operation 7. The black mass with white teeth grabbed onto Naruto's soul that fused with Ddraig and held it up to the Shinigami. Now go, fulfill your role. The Shinigami nodded its head as he sliced another rip in the air. He was transported back into the new world. The Shinigami took his tanto sword and stabbed his stomach, releasing the contents within his stomach. The Shinigami watched as Naruto's soul left his stomach and began to float in the abyss of light where all other souls awaited until it was the time of conception. The Shinigami laughed as it sliced the dimension open with his tanto. This allowed him to move between worlds, and different worlds, life and death. He left Naruto's soul in the floating abyss of light waiting to be reborn. Though before he left, he caught a glimpse of Naruto's soul. He had 9 mini solar flares flying off the soul, along with his soul having a glowing mixture of red with many other colors. The Shinigami chuckled as he left, closing the rift. Enjoy your new life. Sitri Naruto. Naruto, Sona, and Rias were wrapping up their tour of the mansion, which took about an hour. Even then they only showed her about 40% of the mansion itself. There you have it. What do you think? Sona turned to Rias, hoping she enjoyed her tour around the place. Rias smiled and nodded her head. Yeah, your place is amazing. Naruto stayed a pace behind Sona and Rias would bond. It would be great if Sona made a friend her age, especially if it was another girl. So, what else do you guys like to do around here? Rias looked at the two, wondering what they should do next. Sona fixed her glasses to her face. Well, we mostly do chess and hang out with one another. Sona didn't want to reveal everything that they did together. Oh, come on Sona, don't be like that. Naruto chuckled outwardly as Sona looked at her brother with betrayal written on her face. You enjoy playing tag, going out, and exploring within our territory. That doesn't exclude going to the schools to see what their curriculum is like and more. Naruto giggled as Sona did her best to hide her embarrassment. The best part of it all is your care for the miracle Levi Tan. You may find it embarrassing when Onisama comes around, but you're quite proud to play one of your favorite characters. Sona looked at Naruto with a horrified look on her face as he told Rias about her secret. Sona shut her eyes waiting for Rias to begin making fun of her. Sona waited for Rias to laugh, but instead heard, oh, you love the miracle Levi Tan too. I love her shows. They're so amazing. How many of the episodes have you seen? Rias looked at Sona with stars in her eyes. Naruto smirked as Sona looked at Rias. Wait, you don't find it ridiculous I enjoy the miracle Levi Tan, even though she is my Onisama? Sona was rather shocked. Of course, I'm jealous. Rias screamed out as she jumped around. I remember studying up on your Serafal Sama on her roles as a Mao in the miracle Levi Tan. Rias twirled in a circle. It'd be amazing to have her as my Nei-chan. Rias then crossed her arms over her chest and puffed her cheeks out, unlike some annoying Baka Onisama. Sona and Naruto turned to the side and both mumbled, oh sweet naive Rias, how little you know. Backward, 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 backward. With Searsex. Searsex was working at his desk until he felt his chest hurt. Searsex placed a hand over his chest and then brought it up to his face. Grathia, who was with her husband, looked at him confused. Something wrong, Searsex-sama. Searsex frowned as tears began to well up in his eyes. I have this bad feeling that Rias something mean about me. Searsex took a long sniffle as Grathia sighed, shaking her head to the left and right. You need to learn to control yourself more, Searsex-sama. You need to uphold your image as Lucifer. Grathia stated with a disappointed tone in her voice. Backward, 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 backward. Back with Rias, Sona, and Naruto. Nei-chan can be a lot, but regardless maybe we can play a round of chess or something. Rias suggested as Sona nodded her head, thinking it would be a good idea. I don't see why not. Naruto began to make his way towards their room, which Rias and Sona began to follow in tow. After the three set the game of chess up, Naruto watched as Rias and Sona played a match with one another. It wasn't even close. Sona beat Rias by a landslide, beating her within a few moves. However, Naruto had to give Rias credit. She was stubborn and kept asking to play again. By the time the 6th game was around, Rias improved quickly and cornered Sona, actually beating her. Ha, I got you. Rias cheered as she stood up victoriously. Naruto had to admit, Rias was able to quickly deduct Sona's strategies and was able to play a counter. Very impressive indeed. Sona was rather surprised. I have to say, within 5 games you were able to deduce my strategy. I won't lose next time. Sona looked at Rias with a rather interesting blue fire in her eye. Let's see how we do. Rias smirked, ready to play once again. She then looked to Naruto. I want to play you then, Naruto. Naruto chuckled. I'll be back in a bit, maybe once you finish up here. Naruto stood up and walked out to use the restroom. Naruto soon arrived back to see Sona having a smile on her face, finding a defeated Rias. Naruto chuckled as he shook his head. He was glad that Sona had made a friend. However, soon a butler came into the room and said, Naruto-sama, Sona-sama, and Rias-sama, you have summons from your parents. Backward, 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 backward. Family room. The kids were quickly escorted into the family room where the kids were standing in front of their parents. Zeodicus smiled and looked at the kids. Thank you for all coming here. As you know, there was a certain matter we grown-ups talked about. Rias dear, do you remember all the marriage proposals we told you about? Venelana looked to Rias, who simply rolled her eyes and let a huff out. Yeah, I remember. Wait, Rias turned to Naruto looking at him rather confused. Wait, are you trying to marry me too? Rias pointed a finger up at Naruto and looked at him annoyed. Naruto was rather surprised, but he simply shook his head, shrugged his shoulders, and went to speak. However, before he could continue, Sona spoke up. Hey, Sona stood in front of Naruto, surprising everyone in the room. Even Esdeath and Mizor took interest. This wasn't every day when you see the youngest of the Sitri family upset, and it wasn't at Naruto's typical antics. To the boot, it was a friend she had just made that day. Don't go accusing my Oni-sama when you don't even know the full story. Sona looked at Rias rather upset. You're a smart girl, are you not, Rias? I'm sure if there was such a thing our parents would have been wise enough to tell us. Don't go assuming until everything is presented. Besides, any girl would be lucky to have fallen in love with him. Sona turned away from Rias as she crossed her arms over her chest. Rias was unsure of what to say, but for everyone else, mainly Naruto and his parents, it was surprising to see Sona act rather protective. Sona then fixed her glasses to her head using a finger, and her glass seemed to gleam. She turned to Rias's parents and said, Lord and Lady Grimori, please explain. Rias did take notice of the almost anime-like reference Sona made. Rias was rather surprised, and this time had nothing to rebuttal against. Zeodicus continued, as Sona said, there is more indeed. Zeodicus turned to Rias, my dear Rias, you remember Riser PH. Hate him. Rias quickly growled out as she adorned a rather annoyed and angry look on her face. Naruto didn't blame her. He already heard about the rather overconfident and cocky third son of the Phoenix family. Naruto, looking at Rias, was not surprised either, was rather spoiled and could see it too. Though it might be just a phase, so he isn't too worried about it. Yes, you know about the marriage proposal they asked. Zeodicus rubbed the back of his neck as he looked at his daughter. We didn't say yes, but we didn't say no. Instead, we were going to ask Naruto if he would want to take your hand in marriage. Venelana asked with all eyes then moving towards Naruto. Naruto was not surprised. Things like this are rather common for the pure devils in the underworld. Let me guess, when it comes to the way our society is. It is not a surprise that Sona or even Rias are offered many marriage proposals. It not only bolsters the power of our houses, as well as our status and keeping up with the future of our race as devils. So, I understand what you mean by this. Rias looked at her parents with a rather upset look on her face. It was almost as if she had no say in what she wanted. She did not want to marry anyone against her will, especially if it was someone by the name of Riser Phoenix. Rias went to say something, but she almost felt as if she was shut out. Her voice wasn't going to be heard, and if she were to say anything, it would be ignored. She understood how society was, and she understood why devils do it, but she didn't like it. That's the general gist of it. Zeodicus looked at Naruto with a hopeful look in his eye, along with Venelana. If he were to be engaged to Rias, it would stop the others from constant proposals for marriage. Not only that, as well as a need for Rias to be married by our relatives. It would be beneficial. That way Rias won't be forced to marry someone she doesn't like. Venelana looked to Rias. Rias, dear. Just then Naruto spoke up and said, Lord and Lady Grimori, if I may interject for a moment. Naruto looked at them with a serious expression on his face. That's at least what most of society wants for us. It's what they expect of us, but those people with their old-fashioned ideologies. They can take those old rules and shove up their asses. Naruto shook his head. I won't marry Rias. It is clear she wants to be someone she wants to be. Sona smiled as she stood next to her brother proudly. She turned to face her parents and Rias's parents. Well said, Oni-sama, well said. Sona had a proud expression on her face. She was glad that Naruto didn't end up like those other pompous devils. Rias looked to Naruto surprised. Wait, I don't understand. Why? Naruto turned to her and smiled. Think about it. Let's think of it from a political standpoint for a moment. Naruto saw Rias groan in annoyance. It was not her shtick, and he didn't blame her. All his years of Hokage helped a lot. Don't worry, it's simpler than you think. If we want, it can be just as an engagement for now. Until the time comes when you find someone that you truly love. We can break it, and you can marry whomever you want. For now, what our parents are trying to do is have us form one, that way. It keeps other people from sending marriage proposals and stops the Phoenix clan from pursuing any further. Zeodicus and Venelana were completely blown away by Naruto's response. It is amazing to see just how mature and willing he was to help. Kronak and Mira were right. Naruto isn't like other devils. It seems Sona picked up on that from Naruto. Wait, Rias looked to Naruto. What if you're challenged? I know, Riser and his family are really strong. They're immortal. Naruto walked up to Rias and he placed his hand on the top of her head. Don't worry about it. I enjoy knocking some heads together. Naruto gave her a bright smile. I promise you, I won't let anyone marry you without your desire to do so. If they get in your way, I'll beat them. But he is immortal. Rias began to look at Naruto worriedly. Aye. Naruto placed a finger on her mouth. Rias, we're friends now, right? Rias nodded her head. Okay, let me impart this to you, and this is the truth. For those who have someone precious to them, that is when that someone can become the strongest. Don't ever forget that. Rias looked at Naruto amazed by his words. Sona had to admit that those words were rather interesting. Zeodicus and Venelana were surprised by his words. They were very mature, and his tone was perfect. The kids were truly natural-born leaders. It was as if his words, no matter what the circumstance was, if the odds were 100 to 1 against Naruto, made everyone want to believe him. Naruto turned to Rias with a gentle smile on his face. Then it's a promise to you, Rias, and Naruto Sitri doesn't break his promises. Besides, he's immortal, not invincible. There are vast differences between it. Naruto then ruffled Rias's hair as he removed his hands and turned to Rias's parents and his. Naruto placed his right hand over his heart, and then his left arm behind his back. So, with that said, with Rias's wish, I will gladly accept his engagement, and I promise to protect her until she finds the one she truly loves. Naruto gave an appropriate bow showing he accepted. Rias turned to face her parents and Lady and Lord Sitri. However, it wasn't missed by Mira or Venelana when they saw Rias steal a glance at Naruto. The heiress to the Grimori clan could only feel her heart skip a beat when looking at Naruto. Zeodicus and Venelana felt relieved, albeit now realizing what Kronak and Mira meant by Naruto's maturity. It was something they were glad the boy had in some way. He was very intelligent and willing to help. However, they do wonder in some way why Naruto seems and acts so different from most devil kids. Zeodicus gave a polite bow back. I thank you, Naruto. I look forward to how things will happen in the future. Yes, I do as well. Venelana gave a polite bow back to Naruto. Rias then spoke up and asked, wait, Naruto, you're okay with being engaged only to protect me? Rias looked to Naruto as a tint of pink staining her cheeks. Mira and Venelana could easily tell, even if Rias just met Naruto. It was clear the heiress of the Grimori clan was beginning to develop a crush on the young Sitri heir. Naruto chuckled and nodded his head. Of course, we're friends, are we not? Rias simply shook her head agreeing. We're friends, Rias stated back nervously as Naruto nodded his head. Do you want my help when it comes to the people trying to marry you? Rias understood how the clans were in the underworld. The marriage proposals wouldn't stop and the rest of her family, namely her grandparents, would be quite adamant she found someone to be engaged to. Sona, again proudly and boldly stated, Oni-sama will do his best to help you out. I'm sure Oni-sama will do great. Thanks, sis. Naruto gave his twin a nod of thanks. Backward. With Grimori family in the carriage. Soon everyone said their goodbyes and the Grimori family began their journey back home. Rias sat next to her father as she looked at her lap. Venelana and Zeodicus looked at Rias to see her rather baffled. Oka-sama, Otu-sama, my chest feels weird. Zeodicus' eyes widened in shock as he looked at his little princess. Venelana giggled as she asked, oh, were you perhaps thinking about Naruto-kun? Rias's cheeks had a tint of red appear on her cheeks. She stayed silent. However, Zeodicus looked at his daughter. Naruto was only supposed to help Rias and protect her, not steal her heart. Few days later, Naruto and Sona were with Serafal and soon appeared outside by a large mansion. Naruto looked at the place rather confused. Wow, the place here seems like. It's kinda creepy. Sona added in quickly as she saw the mansion that looked run down. It's kinda strange how badly this place looks, like one of those haunted houses. Naruto looked to his older sister. May-sama, are you really sure Ajuka Beelzebub lives here? Serafal nodded her head. Yup, Ajutan lives here. He's mostly a shut-in and makes most of his workers help him inside. So, no one ever ends up taking care of the outside. Serafal knew her fellow Mao had some rather strange quirks of his own. The three soon walked to the door and knocked. A woman wearing a white lab-like coat answered. Serafal-sama, Naruto-sama and Sona-sama. Welcome to Beelzebub-sama's mansion. Please come right this way. The woman moved to the side to let them all in. Please follow me. The assistant made her way toward an elevator. It had an old-school cage-like look to it. She pulled a lever that made the cage-like part of the elevator to part. One went up and the other went down. Then the normal elevator doors opened, but the inside of the elevator's light was off. When they made their way in, the elevator light flickered on, illuminating the rather luxurious interior of the car. I am Ajuka's assistant, but I am also a maid. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. She then turned to the buttons and pressed a button that had the letter L on it. Once it was pressed, the car began to move downwards. Sona raised an eyebrow. What does L stand for? Lab Sona-sama, the maid replied as the car continued to go downwards. About 2 minutes into the ride, the light in the elevator car shut off. Ah, there was a scream, and the light soon turned back on. Serafal, Ajuka's maid, and Naruto looked to see Sona hiding behind Naruto's back. Sona's face turned bright red as she looked at everyone. Serafal giggled cutely. All little Sotan is afraid of the dark. Hee hee hee. Oh Oni-sama, shut up. Sona pushed her face into her twin's back. Naruto did his best to keep his stifled giggles in as well. GGRRKKK. Naruto let a sound out as Sona glared at her twin brother. Shut up Oni-sama. She then punched the back of his shoulder. Thankfully they soon arrived as the elevator dinged and the doors opened. The four soon walked out and Naruto said, for someone who was a Mao, you would think he'd have someone fix that. It can't be that hard. Just then a voice spoke up from behind some 2 closed doors. They quickly were pushed open to find a man wearing a white lab coat. However, he had light blue eyes and green hair that was slicked back. No, too much time wasted. The man was cleaning his hands that seemed to have a black smudge on them. All man and woman powered should be putting new inventions and other things are of more importance. The man walked over to a closed door. Now I need to get my. He opened it and before he knew it a bunch of clutter and items came falling out. He was quickly covered and buried beneath all of the items. Naruto deadpanned as he looked at the man. Oh Ajutan. You're here. Do you have my 2 siblings' evil pieces ready? Serafal cheered excitedly for the 2. Oh, so these are your siblings. Ajuka walked up to them. He quickly summoned an indirect ophthalmoscopy. He peered at Naruto and Sona as he drew the lenses that stretched out close to them. Naruto and Sona were rather taken back by the Mao. Interesting, it seems this one here has whisker marks. Rather strange, never seen them on devils before. I know right. Serafal cheered out as she gently placed her hands on Naruto's cheeks. They make him even cuter tilde. Naruto's eyes looked to Sona for help, but Sona stayed looking ahead not wanting to draw attention to herself. Ajuka then shot straight up through his indirect ophthalmoscopy off to the side and turned around walking away. Oh right. Evie pieces, let's go. Head this way with me. Naruto and Sona both deadpanned. Wasn't he supposed to be a Mao? The 2 looked at the mess on the ground as the maid stepped over the mess ignoring it. Serafal did the same. Come on Satan, Narutan, let's get your evil pieces. The 3 walked towards the double doors. The 2 eyes widened as they saw a large lab. The place had giant generators, tables, sinks, tool cabinets, beakers, and everything else. They continued to follow the rather strange Mao to a wall. He walked up to it and placed his hand on a scanner. Then his tongue. He took his shoe off, lifted his foot, and placed it on. Naruto and Sona began to deadpan. Ajuka then ripped a hair follicle off and placed it in a tray that came out. Then an eye scanner popped out that scanned his eye. He then typed in a password. Then a microphone came out and he said, Open sesame. Like that, a secret compartment in the wall opened up with the doors separating. One went up and the other down. Naruto saw what seemed like shelves on a rotating table that held cases that must hold evil pieces. Naruto watched as he hit a button that began to sift through the different clans. Naruto even saw one for Rias's clan, until it then slowly came to a stop. The shelf held 2 cases for the Sitri family. Ajuka grabbed the 2 and went over to a table. However, there was a bunch of cluttered stuff on them. Naruto and Sona looked at the sight rather confused. Ajuka looked left and right and began to mutter to himself. It seems like was trying to figure out what table to clear off. Just then he took his other hand which went the length of the table. He then swept his hand across throwing all the stuff off the table. Naruto leaned over to Sona and whispered, This is not what I was expecting, and here I thought May-sama was strange. Sona could only nod in agreement, even though Naruto's comment was rather rude. Then again, this is Naruto for you. Ajuka took the 2 and placed them on the table and turned to Naruto and Sona. Well, who was up first? Sona took a step forward. I will Ajuka-sama. Sona walked up to the case and looked to Ajuka for more directions. Oh, right. Ajuka stuck his hand out and a large medieval great sword appeared in his hand. Sona's and Naruto's eyes widened and Ajuka turned to Sona. Well, here you go. Just cut your finger and let a drop of blood fall. Then go ahead and pour some of your magic into that drop of blood. Sona looked to Ajuka and asked, Hey Ajuka-sama, if I may be so bold, but is there a more etiquette blade to use? Rather than a large great sword that could cut my entire hand off. Oh, Ajuka looked at it and thought for a moment while scratching his head. Serafal chuckled and said, He's really smart, see. Oh yeah, so convincing. Naruto rolled his eyes as he looked at Serafal and she shrugged her shoulders. Ajuka threw the sword behind him and it crashed into some items causing stuff to fall off. Just then some random chemicals mixed and caused the 2 to explode. It wasn't big but it was rather dangerous if it was a human. Oh, so that's what those chemicals did together. Naruto facepalmed. He could understand how smart Ajuka was, but he almost seemed like a ditzy idiot. One of Ajuka's assistants came up. Ajuka-sama here, how about a dagger? Ah, wonderful idea. Why didn't I think of that? Ajuka gave a polite nod of thanks to his assistant. Sona retorted, Ajuka, if I may be so bold, but wouldn't have that been the smarter idea in the beginning? Ajuka nodded his head while chuckling. You are correct, Sona. Serafal was right. You sure are smart, unlike him over there. Ajuka looked at Naruto and saw him having his hand over his face. Naruto looked at Ajuka confused. I am not stupid, Ajuka-sama. I feel I am quite smart. I could have. It was a rhetorical question, lad. Might want to get with the program. Ajuka then turned to Sona to give her the dagger. Naruto looked at Ajuka as a line of blood rolled out his nose. Serafal looked at Naruto worried. Naruto-tan, what's wrong? Naruto wiped his nose as he said, it's nothing, just an aneurysm of pure stupidity. Ajuka then said, man you must be pretty stupid then. Naruto's hair covered his eyes, and a murderous aura came off of Naruto. Serafal and Sona felt it. Naruto held up his hand as fire, water, and lighting elements formed ready for him to attack Ajuka with it. However, Serafal placed a hand on his shoulder chuckling trying to calm Naruto down. Reluctantly Naruto did so, as Sona took the dagger and gently cut her finger. Some blood ran down her finger and dripped onto the case. Sona made sure to add some magic as the blood drop hit the case. The case in itself began to glow once the blood drop hit it. The case seemingly absorbed the blood into it. There was a bright blue glow as the case let out some steam and the top opened like a basket revealing all the evil pieces inside. Looking inside, blue glowing chess pieces began to glow brighter. Soon, they began to settle, and their glow dissipated. Ajuka placed his hand on his chin and smiled. Interesting. Let's Sona. I wonder what will happen with your pieces. I wonder if in the future your members' pieces will mutate. I'm looking forward to whom you'll reincarnate. Ajuka then picked up the king piece. Alright, take this piece and absorb it into your body. Then you'll have control over the other pieces. You can summon them at your beck and call whenever. Focus your magic on the piece and it should do the rest. Sona nodded her head, taking the king piece from Ajuka's hand. She brought it up to her chest and focused her magic on it. The king piece began to glow as it seeped into her chest, merging with her body. Naruto did sense Sona's magical power increase, but not by a lot. However, it did enhance her abilities. Ajuka then nodded his head and closed Sona's case. Alright, let's put it back and now let's finish with your twin. Ajuka walked over and placed the case back into its rack. Alright Naruto, you're up now. Naruto walked up and took the dagger, cutting the tip of his finger. It drew blood, and the drop fell onto the case. The case began to glow like it did for Sona as it let out some steam and eventually opened up like a basket. Naruto peered into the basket to find all 15 evil pieces, but his king piece. Ajuka looked over also confused. Interesting, it should have reacted to you. Seraphol and Sona look at the two confused. Is something the matter, Ajuka-chan? Seraphol placed her finger on her lower lip. For some reason, his evil piece king isn't reacting to him. However, all the other pieces seem to react to him. Ajuka scratched his head. I created these things, and I don't even know what the hell is going on. Just then everyone heard a low humming as Ajuka turned his head. Ajuka saw over from a tightly locked safe beginning to glow. The safe was under a tight lock and key, which required a bunch of safe codes and DNA recognition from Ajuka to open. The safe was not something that could easily be destroyed or opened up. Wait. That's where I keep all the. Ajuka was not only stopped by his assistant, but the safe itself had a hole cut out. Everyone watched as a red king piece floated out. It made its way toward the case that belonged to Naruto. It floated over to Naruto's normal king piece and seemingly absorbed it. Then the king piece that replaced Naruto's old one changed from red to blue. Then Naruto's pieces turned to the color black with a frost coming off of them. Ajuka was very fascinated by this. Never have I ever seen evil pieces react like this, let alone one choosing its master. Ajuka placed his hand on his chin looking at Naruto, Seraphol, and then Sona. Ajuka-chan, but the king piece, it's not, well you know known. Seraphol looked to Naruto and Sona. This was something it should be told to Naruto and Sona. Ajuka lowered his head and thought about it. I can't change what happened in the past. You saw how the king piece reacted to Naruto. If I were to acquire a new one for him, I'm sure this king piece would most likely absorb it again. Not only that, but I sense great power coming from it. Sona raised an eyebrow and fixed her glasses to her face holding the side of it. Interesting, just what in the world did you create? I want to know what's about to go into my Oni-sama. Seraphol's twin tails lowered as she said, back during the old Satan faction before the war. Ajuka-chan here created them. There are 12 in total. They were dangerous and powerful king pieces that greatly enhanced the devil's capabilities. At the time many malicious and selfish devils intended to use them for their benefit. The Great King faction when they took control of the raiding games. Due to the raiding games being tied together with politics and economics, the old devils of the Great King faction sought to manipulate the raiding games from behind the scenes to increase their influence and generate more money, by fixing matches by bestowing king piece to certain pure-blooded devils from the 72 pillars such as Royd and Belphegor and Betis Abaddon and using bribery to obtain the commercial rights for the popularity obtained by competing in raiding games. The reason why the top-ranked raiding game contestants did not have much change in rank was due to old devils, who were secretly controlling things to reap the benefits of the matches, as they managed the tug of war state so that they were perfectly adjusted to balance it out to generate a lot of money. Ajuka shook his head as he thought back to what he had done for the previous faction. There was silence in the room while everyone digested the information. Just then Sona said, I think Oni-sama will be good. I know Oni-sama wouldn't do that nor use the king piece for selfish uses. Sona looked at her twin. Naruto smiled and nodded his head. Thanks Sona, I appreciate it. Seraphol smiled proud of Sona. Yeah, don't worry so much Ajuka-chan. I think my Natan is perfect. After all the king piece did choose him after all. Ajuka smiled and nodded his head. That means I want you to come to me at least once a month. Better if you develop any sort of unordinary powers, just to make sure you're alright. Ajuka looked at the king piece. It also seems you have an affinity to ice magic as well, but for a weird reason, your ice is black. So, we'll just keep an eye out for it. Understood. I'll keep an eye out on my powers. I'll notify Oni-sama if anything comes up. Naruto nodded his head showing he understood the importance of the matter with this. Naruto took a step closer as Ajuka picked up the king piece. Ajuka brought it to Naruto as the king piece floated out of Ajuka's hand. It floated to Naruto as he held his hand up. The king piece floated and then merged itself with Naruto. Everyone watched in anticipation. Naruto stood there with his eyes closed. He felt his magical power and his physical strength increase. It was more than Sona's, but it wasn't too much bigger than before. Naruto opened his eyes and brought his hands up to his vision. He looked at them and flexed them trying to feel for anything new. Alas, he felt no change besides the small power-up. You okay Naruto-tan? Seraphol looked at her little brother worriedly. Yeah, Oni-sama, you feel alright. Sona had her hands in front of her chest clasped together. Naruto continued to move and flex his hands. I don't feel too different, besides the slight boost. That's it though. Ajuka took note of that as he asked, Naruto, I'm going to take your and Sona's blood and run some tests. Hopefully, you two don't mind. I want to see if the king piece affects you differently compared to Sona. Naruto and Sona both nodded their heads as Ajuka's assistants took some quick samples. The assistants placed them into some containers. I will let you know what I find. For now, it will take some time. With that said, that is all I have for you. You guys may return home. It was wonderful to meet you, the Miracle Sitri twins. Ajuka chuckled as Sona's cheeks blushed in embarrassment. I can't you came up with such a ridiculous nickname for Oni-sama. Sona threw her hands up into the air and began to walk back toward the elevator. However, she stopped and bowed to Ajuka. Thank you for my evil pieces, Ajuka-sama. Sona turned away as she continued to the elevator. Naruto politely bowed as well. Thank you, Ajuka-sama. We will take our leave. I promise to do the king piece justice and the work you put into them right. Ajuka smiled as he watched as Naruto walked away when he said that. His words made him want to believe him. Amazing, right? Ajuka turned to Seraphol who watched her siblings go to the elevator. There's something about Naruto that changes people for the better. I want to believe he can achieve whatever he wants to as long as he applies himself. Ajuka ran his hand through his hair. I wonder how much he'll affect Sona and others around him. Ajuka turned to his customized hematology analyzer. I'm sure the two will do great things. Seraphol trotted forward and stopped halfway turning back to Ajuka with her hands behind her back. After all, they're my precious Naruto no dodo. See ya Ajuka-chan. Seraphol gave him a wave as she trotted off toward Naruto and Sona. Naruto quickly ducked underneath the punch and tried to retaliate back. However, his opponent was by far more experienced and stronger than he was. The attack Naruto tried to throw back was quickly slapped away as a knee came up to his face. Naruto was sent careening back, but he did a quick backflip and landed on his feet. Once Naruto landed, he quickly formed a spear of ice, but his ice was pitch black and he threw it. His opponent simply moved to the side and dodged his attack. Though, Naruto had both his hands on the ground as he smirked. Try this on for your size. Naruto smirked as a giant contraption made of black ice came up from the ground as it cocked itself ready to fire. Naruto's opponent raised an eyebrow looking at Naruto's contraption. Impressive, you have been doing your studying. I sure have been. Sub-Zero howitzer cannon. Naruto's contraption quickly fired its round that headed straight for his opponent. Naruto's opponent seamlessly braced himself as the attack slammed into him. Kaboom, smoke and debris were kicked up from the ground. Sona, Kronak, Mira, and Estet stood up in a booth watching the two people spar. Soon the dust and debris cleared, and from the smoke, the man smirked. He was holding his right hand up in front of him where there was a hole in his clothing. It was none other than Behemoth. He is an elderly butler, and he is dressed gracefully in his traditional black uniform. Behemoth's hair is entirely white, just like his immaculate beard. He has visible wrinkles on his hollow face, which makes him seem gentle in appearance, but his eyes are as sharp as a needle's. He is supposed to look like Sebas from Overlord. Behemoth smiled as he looked at his sleeve. Very impressive, Naruto-sama. Your power behind your punches has increased. Your magic is quick as ever, also a rather interesting name for an attack. Naruto chuckled as he relaxed his body after firing off a giant attack. That isn't his strongest move, but it's one of them. Thanks, Behemoth-sensei. You've been teaching me and training me for the past 6 or so years. Well done. Naruto turned his head to see Esdeath come walking up. You've improved your magic casting time. The attack, I have to say, is a rather intimidating weapon to use. Esdeath had to admit she was impressed, taking a giant weapon of destruction from World War II. He had the right idea of using psychological warfare against her opponents. Oni-sama did not have to use specifically a howitzer. Sona came walking up next to Esdeath, while Kronak and Mira stopped next to Sona. Sona then crossed her arms over her chest, quirking an eyebrow. Naruto chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. Well, I thought the name of it was cool. In Japan they have an anime where a kid uses it as a move. Sona rolled her eyes, earning more chuckles from the grown-ups. Rias's anime problem was rubbing off on Naruto since he enjoys coming up with moves. Well, it's impressive. You were able to keep up with Behemoth a lot longer than last time. Kronak stepped forward as he placed a hand on Naruto's head. That's my son. Keep getting stronger. You'll be a fine leader of the Sitri clan. Mira giggled as she looked at Naruto. It seems Rias has grown rather fond of you to end up showing you her interests. Naruto waved it off. Rias gets Sona to watch them too, so it's just Rias showing us her hobbies. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. In all honesty, Naruto's hobby ended up enjoying history. Naruto held his hand up as a black sword of ice appeared in his hand, a Japanese katana, one of human's greatest weapons. Esdeath chuckled, smirking. I must admit it's rather powerful for a sword. Of course, I fancy myself a rapier more. But to each their own. Behemoth looked to Naruto and asked, You've been doing a lot of training lately. What do you think? After you've rested up, would you like to patrol around the Sitri border? Take out some strays, or even beasts that dare to come too close. Mira looked worried when Behemoth said, Behemoth, I don't know if that's the best idea. He's only 12. With training from the strongest rook and the rival of the strongest queen of the underworld. Esdeath smirked back to her rival Brachial Lucifuge. I'm sure his training from the last almost 6 years has shown. Sona here could even take on most high-class devils of her generation and be fine. I think it'd be a good experience for him. He is going to be the overseer of this land one day. Kronak smirked, placing his finger under his nose. Hey, my boy is growing up. Backquote. Next day asterisk. Naruto was flying in the sky with Behemoth and Esdeath. Sona was currently back at the house with their mother. Mira was teaching Sona some parts of the Sitri house that she could run since Naruto would be the head. So, is there usually anything interesting that happens in these parts usually? Naruto asked curiously as he continued to survey the area. Usually no, but on occasion stray wolves, or maybe some stray fallen. Behemoth held up a scroll and handed it to Naruto as they continued to fly. These are approved targets to kill from the Grigori, those known to have gone rogue. They're nothing but weaklings that need to be culled from this world. Esdeath continued to look down at the ground searching for possible targets. You never change, Esdeath-sama. One of the Sitri clan members chuckled nervously. You got that right. Naruto laughed along with them as Behemoth chuckled. Maybe that's why you haven't been able to find anyone as yet. Behemoth laughed as well and Esdeath looked away from everyone with a tint of embarrassment on her cheeks. Soon the group continued to focus back on the mission at hand. The group continues to fly until Naruto spots something off in the distance. Hey Behemoth-sensei, Esdeath-sensei, what is that over there? Naruto stopped as they pointed towards the ground off in the distance. It was almost 6 clicks out. It's out of the Sitri boundary, but it doesn't hurt to check it out. On me everyone, phalanx formation. Esdeath ordered out and everyone got into position with Esdeath taking the lead. Behemoth and Naruto followed behind with the others following. The group flew over to the suspicious activity and Esdeath and Behemoth were on high alert. Esdeath signaled for everyone to land, which they did. Naruto saw that they were devils. Who are you? State your business here. The devils who were there all stopped and seemed on guard. However, there was a man who came walking up. He was a young handsome-looking man appearing in his early 20s with silver hair that is tied in a braided hairstyle. He wears a silver robe with detailed accessories. If it isn't the infamous ice demon Esdeath. The king of the earth Behemoth, and the new heir of the Sitri clan. The man placed a hand above his left chest. My name is Euclid Lucifuge. As to what we are doing is none of your business and out of your domain, so if you all could please kindly leave. We all do our surveillance and information gathering for our reasons ourselves. The man seemed to be kind until Naruto saw his face scowl. Now, could you please leave the air I'm breathing seems to have been contaminated. Euclid, you know our war ended many years ago in a way you were outside of our territory. Esdeath narrowed her eyes at him. We saw your group and you're quite close, so we were concerned. Of course, you can't be too careful. Esdeath seemingly began to have an aura of ice begin to appear around her. Euclid continued to smile back as his demonic aura sprang to life. I see, so please return to the filthy land you consider home. Just then a voice came up from the side as Naruto saw a boy with silver hair walking out. Oni-sama, I suggest not starting a fight when not needed. Naruto's eyes widened. The boy's hair was split between the sides of his face. His hair was tied in the back ponytail. Naruto quickly relaxed his face, but he couldn't help but look at the boy. He did not have the tear troughs from where his eyes were. The boy who walked out looked at their new arrivals. Euclid smiled as he gestured his hand to his left. This is my little brother. Let me introduce to you Itachi Lucifuge. Itachi looked at the group and gave a slight bow. A pleasure to meet you all. Itachi didn't look directly at Naruto but noticed Naruto stare at him. Euclid decided to end the confrontation between the two groups immediately. With that said, but maybe you can get out of our hair. We have our reasons for being here. We haven't caused any problems. Besides, we're outside of your area. Esdeath was not happy with the old Satan faction's response. Nonetheless, couldn't do anything. She went to speak but Naruto took a step forward. Of course, as long as that's it then we'll leave you all to it. Naruto turned to Esdeath and Behemoth. Everyone, let's go. Naruto summoned his wings and took off into the sky with everyone following. Itachi stood there watching them leave with Euclid frowned. Pacifist devil scum, they mock the original Satan ways. Itachi stood there next to his brother as he looked at Naruto flying away. A small smirk appeared on his face. HM. Exactly. Euclid smirked as he looked at his little brother. They truly don't understand what we were truly meant to do and follow. Backquote. With Naruto. Wise decision Naruto-sama. We shouldn't want to start an unnecessary conflict with the old faction. Behemoth said wisely, which earned many respectful looks from the other members of the Sitri clan. As much as I hate how close they were not causing any problems. Esdeath clicked her tongue, not liking how close the old faction was to the Sitri territory. Well, if anything we should report this to Oni-sama. I'm just glad nothing came of using a fight. Naruto narrowed his eyes thinking back to Itachi. It couldn't be Itachi. Could it, at least, be Itachi from my world? Backquote. Later that night with Itachi Lucifuge. Itachi was in his room as he was preparing for bed. Itachi looked up and out his window. Interesting. It seems Onisama's idea of patrolling around the borders of the new faction proved useful. Itachi looked at the mirror in his room as his eyes flashed red with one tomo circling the iris on a ring. It seems Naruto is the Naruto from my world, otherwise he wouldn't have looked at me that surprised. Itachi closed his eyes thinking back to his childhood. He wished he could have met Graphia. But he didn't blame her when she switched sides. All the old Mao wanted was pure domination and more war, while the new Mao faction wanted to end it and create peace. Maybe Naruto is the way for me to be reunited with my long-lost Onisama. Backquote, 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 backquote. Later that night with Naruto. Naruto was standing in his room in the Sitri castle when he, Esdeath, and Behemoth arrived back at the castle. Kronak was immediately informed of the discovery along with Esdeath quickly informing Serafal of the situation. Of course, quickly Serafal met with the other Satans to figure out a plan of action. They agreed as long as they didn't start anything, that they would leave the old Mao faction alone. Unless provoked, of course, Sirzex did inform Graphia that she could have a younger brother but was unaware of it. Naruto looked out his window as he opened it to let the cool night breeze into it. Naruto stepped up on the railing and jumped out. He summoned his devil wings and took off towards the direction of where he last encountered Euclid and Itachi. Naruto remembered where to go, not only that but thanks to the devil's sight. It's still as if it was day outside even though it is dark. Naruto soon arrived at the area where he met Euclid and Itachi. As if Naruto knew it, a person stepped out from the rock. He stood there again with silver white hair and gray eyes. His hair was still worn the same as he did back then. Hello, Itachi. Itachi, who stepped out from the rock, looked at Naruto with an impassive look on his face. The usually monotone look he always adorned on his face. Itachi didn't reply right away until a small smile appeared on his face. It has been, Naruto. There's only one way for us to be who we say we are. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest and thought hard about what Itachi meant.
Itachi watched as Naruto needed a moment to think about what to say. Itachi chuckled and shook his head. Old habits die hard, don't they? Itachi knew it was Naruto as he crossed his arms over his chest. He would do that all the time back in the day when he had to think about something. Naruto and Itachi both came together and gave one another a brotherly hug. Naruto cried happily as Itachi smiled. The two brought their foreheads together.
It's so good to see you. Naruto and Itachi both broke their hugs. I can't believe you're here and you reincarnated with your memories intact. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I'm even more shocked I kept my Sharingan, and from what I've learned some of its abilities. Itachi looked at his hands. I didn't think I would, but they adjusted to magic. So, it's different from chakra. Yeah, Naruto placed a finger on his chin, but there isn't much more we can do except but go with how this world is. Which leads to the next issue at hand. It seems we're both on opposing sides. Itachi this time had a critically thinking look on his face. I'm unsure of how to go about this. Naruto thought about it too. Before we begin, the things you did, you all did it for the leaf. Didn't you? Naruto looked to Itachi wanting answers for everything. Minato never told Naruto the mission Itachi was given. Naruto wanted to know what Itachi was forced to do. Itachi closed his eyes and nodded his head. Alright, here it is. After an hour of explaining to Naruto, it all made sense. Naruto closed his eyes and nodded his head. I see, you did go through a lot. I'm just glad. Itachi's eyes widened as tears began to stroll down Naruto's cheeks. That my brother, even if not by blood, was still really my brother. Naruto smiled as Itachi smiled back. He even felt good that Naruto finally learned the truth. The two took a few moments to collect themselves and reconnect. Then Itachi said, now as much as I'd love to stay here talking with you, we have an issue of simply the fact our factions are at odds with one another. Naruto looked to the area behind Itachi. One wrong idea or slip we could be in another civil war. TCH, how bothersome. It seems even here wars follow wherever we go. Itachi closed his eyes thinking of the nonsense that his faction believed in, though all agree that the new Mao faction has its mindset right. Just not 100% executed right. Yeah, but small things at a time. That's what counts for right now. Naruto nodded his head as he thought about the next step. How long do you think we could even do this? Being seen here could raise suspicion, more for you than me. Yes, I agree. I'm adapted well to illusion magic. Thankfully I had a way to obtain a familiar early. Crows come in handy. I made it so that they'll put a person in an illusion once they enter my room. It's a low level, but it makes it look like I'm there. For now, at least, I'm sure my Onisama could easily detect it given him enough time. Man, to think that you're the little brother of Graphia Lucifuge and Euclid Lucifuge. Naruto looked to Itachi thinking about what their move should be. Indeed, I'd much rather be on the side that wants peace. Of course, you can't have everything you want. For now, we need to plan. Do I join and seek asylum with you? Or stay where I am and send you guys intel? Itachi closed his eyes wondering what Naruto would say. Doing both would be a great idea, but it couldn't be a bad idea to have a double agent. Are you sure you even want to try this? Naruto looked to Itachi wondering if this was a good idea. I was thinking, why not be a double agent like back then? It's nothing different from what I did. I'll just feed the old Mao faction false information. I just need approval from the new Mao faction. Naruto nodded his head as he closed his eyes. I think it could be smart in the long run, but also could be dangerous. It depends if you want to try something like this. I know why we don't do this. Why don't we both inform our leaders what our goals are and what we want to do? Naruto held up his evil pieces. Well, I'm sure you know what these are when the time comes. We'll have to sell it. Itachi smiled as he understood. Well, until we contact one another again. How about in a week? That way my Onisama doesn't get any suspicions right away. Backquote, 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 backquote. Next day in a meeting with the Maos. So, that's why I want to see if I could get Itachi into my peerage. Naruto asked the Sirzex, Ajuka, Serafal, and Falbion looked at him as if he was crazy. Naruto, normally I'd go along with most things you say. If you wanted to reincarnate him, we wouldn't stop you as long as he wanted to. Serafal looked to her fellow Maos unsure. But this is a member of the old Mao faction. How do we know he isn't going to betray you? Sirzex was worried about Naruto's decision. It could lead to him getting hurt badly. I mean, he's merely a child about the same age as you. He's willing to be a counter spy. By giving them false information we gave them, Falbion wasn't completely against the idea. It could prove to be quite the boon. I think the kids are being smart about it. Ajuka placed a finger on his chin looking at the table in front of him intently. I say go for it, but be wary of when you do it. Make sure on their side they are aware he is doing it. Sirzex smiled as he folded his hands under his chin and rested on it. I'm sure Graphia would be quite happy to hear about this. She has had no information of having an Ododo, though Euclid is another story of course. If Naruto-sama wants to do this, I fully support it. Behemoth gave a respectful bow to the Maos and Naruto for his decision. I think it's rather risky, but the kid's got guts and I like it. Esdeath placed a hand on her right hip looking at Naruto. Onisama, what do you think? Naruto looked to his older sister. He did greatly care for her opinion in this matter. Serafal looking around was visibly upset. She didn't want to get Naruto involved with the old Mao faction. It could prove quite dangerous if they aren't careful about it. Nonetheless, all Serafal could do was give her thoughts on it. Truly I think this isn't a good idea, but you're already thinking way ahead of things. Seraphol looked to Naruto with a proud look on her face. These are just some of the many things you'll have to deal with and I'm sure you'll make good decisions. Alright Naruto, if you feel strongly about this Naruto, let's go for it. Naruto gave a polite bow to the Mouse. I appreciate you all taking the time to talk to me on this issue. I will gladly take any responsibility if Itachi were to step out of line in any way. The Mouse nodded their head as Naruto turned around and left with Esdeath and Behemoth walking away. However, Naruto felt Seraphol move as he quickly found a pair of arms wrapped around his body. Goodbye Naruto. Oni-chan is going to miss you. Seraphol began to rub her cheek up against Naruto's. I'll miss you too Oni-sama, but you have responsibilities as a Mao. Naruto patted Seraphol's head as he earned a smiling giggle from her. Backquote. A few days later, Naruto was out and about in the Sitri territory out where the public was. Naruto was running some errands for his parents. It was mainly him meeting the owners of the Sitri train station who owns different companies in the human world too. Naruto walked out of the station. He was in a pair of black pants, dark blue coat that went down to the ankle of his feet. Under the coat is a black vest with a dark blue undershirt. How do you do this, Behemoth? Walking around in a butler suit all day. Behemoth chuckled as he looked down at the heir of the Sitri clan. You learn to move around in it. Change your battle style. Cut the crap, Behemoth sensei. You have it tailored to you, don't you? Naruto looked up to his sensei as he smirked at him and nodded his head. Naruto shook his head. Come on, let's get going. I feel like walking back to the house today. Naruto walked with Behemoth as Naruto waved to plenty of passers-by. Naruto wasn't one for a ton of attention nor desired many things. Though, he did enjoy being able to show himself in public. Hopefully, he has good standing with his people and protects them. After all, that's what Minato did for the village. If he was going to inherit the Sitri land, he wanted to first win the hearts of his people. When walking Naruto, he went past an alleyway and heard some commotion. Normally this was something that happened in many other devil territories. The only difference is that there are more noble families except for certain families who care about their people. Naruto signaled to Behemoth as he took to the roofs. Naruto knew many people knew who he was, but not what he looked like. Behemoth is widely known, and people know who he looks like, well at least in his human form. Naruto did mentally thank his parents since not many other noble families even knew what he or even Sona looked like. At least not until they meet up with all the other younger devils for the first time. Which was something Naruto wished he didn't have to go to, but he will eventually have to. Naruto made his way towards the alleyway as he came upon a rather intriguing scene. Naruto used some magic and sent his coat home, that way if things went sideways, it wouldn't at least get ruined. It was one of his favorites, that's because Mira and Sona bought it and picked it out for him. Naruto would have to thank his mother again for the rundown of all the devil families. Ah, if it isn't the sole heir to the house of Naberius. Might I ask what you're doing here? The boy who seemed to be a bit taken aback by Naruto's sudden questioning turned to him. He stood about the height of 5 feet 3-ish, meanwhile Naruto was already at 5 feet 2. Which is generally tall for most boys Naruto's age. Then again, neither are devils normal humans, and neither is Naruto a normal devil. The boy did not know who Naruto was, nor did he even pause to think who he was. I don't know what it is to you, commoner, but I suggest you keep moving along. This has nothing to do with you. Behemoth who at the rooftop glared down at the ignorant heir from the house of Naberius. Naruto turned his head to see two girls off in the corner. The older one had black hair and golden yellow eyes, while the smaller one had white hair but had the same golden yellow eyes. Naruto took a step forward and said, I will ask you again, heir from the house of Naberius, Naberius. The two girls looked at Naruto with confusion while looking at Naruto. Naruto seemed like a plain devil as they normally would seem. Though then something caught the black-haired girl's eye. She noticed that the boy was not wearing a coat, because he was wearing a black vest that was worn over a blue shirt. The now named Naberius turned to Naruto with an annoyed look. Like I said, you filthy commoner. This business isn't to do with you. So, then you backing these nice ladies into a corner isn't the business of the house of Sitri. Naruto lifted his right hand as he used his left hand to fix his sleeve. Last time I checked, this isn't your territory, neither is it your business with its people. Dai turned to Naruto with an angry look on his face. TCH, how do you prove you were the heir to the Sitri house? Naruto had his crest appear on his right hand. So, with that now finally settled and out of the way, could you please leave my people alone? Dai looked at Naruto annoyed and angry. TCH, he then turned back to the two girls. I will be back for you too, and you will join my peerage. They won't be joining you at all. Naruto interrupted Dai as he walked up and stood in front of him and the two girls. The belief in forcing people to join your peerage has always bothered you. These so-called unrestricted rules and more make me sick of people like you. Naruto glared at Dai. So now if you could please be on your way. I have some business with these ladies. You've spent more than long enough into my territory unannounced. Dai clicked his teeth angrily. Dai was going to spread these crazy ideals about the Sitri heir. Maybe then that'll teach him to mess with those of other households. Just because he was part of a house that had more influence over others doesn't make his household allow them to do whatever they want. Well, that's at least what he thought. Fine, but I'll make it you regret it, heir of the Sitri house. Mark my words. Dai growled out as he turned and began to walk away, disappearing in a magic circle. Once Naruto was sure the guy left, Naruto turned to the girls behind him. Naruto smiled looking at the two. Well, I'm glad that he's gone. Naruto took out a piece of paper with his clan crest on it. If you ever need me in any way, please don't hesitate to call me. The name is Naruto Sitri, at your service. Naruto gave a polite and funny bow to the two girls. The one with black hair looked at Naruto rather impressed. Meanwhile, her younger sister had a smiling look back at Naruto. Wow, then you, Naruto-sama for helping me and Oni-chan. Naruto walked up to the two girls and waved it off. The older sibling released her younger sister from her close hug for protection. Don't sweat it so much. Naruto placed a hand on the younger sister and gave her a head pat. No need to be so formal with me, just call me Naruto. I prefer that much more than people who seem to be about my age or younger. Naruto then extended his hand towards the girl with black hair. The girl with black hair smiled. My name is Kuroka, a pleasure to meet you. Thanks again for the assist. Kuroka seemed to be about a year or so older than Naruto. Kuroka had long black hair with split bangs, and now upon closer inspection, Naruto noticed she had hazel gold eyes with cat-like pupils. I'm Sharon. Naruto looked down to hear her sister speak up. Sharon, like her sister, had similar hazel gold eyes with cat-like pupils. The difference between the two is that Sharon seemed to be 4 or 5 years younger than Naruto. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you too. Naruto handed Sharon his clan crest that was on a sheet of paper. If you ever need me, don't hesitate to call again. Naruto smiled looking at the two siblings. I know what it's like to have a sister to look after. Naruto said looking at Kuroka. She's a bit older than Sharon here, but even still any sibling would do what they can to look after their other. Naruto chuckled, which Kuroka did as well, which only made the little Sharon smile. Well, I will say this NYA. Kuroka looked at Naruto as her black cat ears appeared with 2 tails. The same thing happened to Sharon as well, but her ears were white, and she only had 1 tail. Thanks for the assistance. I'm sure you wouldn't have left us alone. Naruto realized they were a certain race of Nekomata. Yeah, but you guys are doing what you can to live on your own. Not that I don't mind your kind being here, I support it wholeheartedly. Naruto nodded his head. So, with that said, I won't keep you guys. If you ever need to, just contact me by sending magic into that piece of paper. Take care. Naruto gave them a wave and began to walk away. Kuroka's ears twitched in confusion watching the young Sitri heir walk away. Sharon was curious about Naruto and wanted to know more. Kuroka spoke up and asked, wait. Naruto stopped and turned to look at Kuroka and Sharon. He stood there waiting for Kuroka's response. Why didn't you ask us to join your peerage? Naruto smiled as he placed his hands on his hips. I won't force anyone into my peerage. I'll ask if they want to. Normally I would ask, but because of what I was trying to do earlier, I feel like it would be inappropriate to ask. I'd rather gain your guys' respect and trust before asking such a thing. Besides, I can't ask possible future friends to just join me and serve me like a servant. I want them to understand that my peerage isn't a master and servant relationship. We're a team, we're family, it's important to me. Kuroka's tail wagged as she listened to the way Naruto talked. It was refined and polite, respectful and enticing. It were words that her mother would speak to her, and even Sharon could tell that Naruto piqued Kuroka's interest. Well, maybe I might be interested. Besides, it beats being mad and mad at that annoying guy. Naruto smiled and looked at the two. He smiled and thought for a moment. I see. Well, maybe we can talk more about this back at the mansion. Are you two both okay being part of my peerage? Sharon looked confused and asked, will I get to see my Oni-sama when I want to? Even Kuroka had to admit, she was lost on this proposal. Naruto smiled. Of course, you can, Sharon. I'd never try to keep you and Kuroka away. Besides, I'd be pretty upset if someone tried to do that to me and my Naruto. Naruto rubbed the top of Sharon's head, earning curves from her. Kuroka understood that, and even knew that one day she couldn't always keep taking care of Sharon. She is her person after all. It was only a matter of time before she would be taking care of herself. This is the best and safest possible outcome she could ever possibly get. I see. Well, it seems we might finally get to have a home after all, Sharon. Now Oni-sama doesn't worry about paying this month's rent NYA. Kuroka smiled brightly down at her younger sister. You've stated it before, Sharon. Sometimes I can be overbearing because I worry about you. But you're my Naruto, and I do what I can to care for you. Hopefully, you can handle begins with me for almost eternity as a devil. Soon some footsteps came walking up and Sharon and Kuroka looked at him. Naruto knew it was Behemoth. Ah, Behemoth, glad to see you. It seems I've gotten a couple new friends and a new peerage member. Behemoth gave a polite bow. Greetings, my name is Behemoth. Seraphal-sama's rook, at your service. If you are joining Naruto-sama, then I expect nothing but the best fulfillment in your roles as his servants. Of course, family as well. Great NYA. I feel like this is going to be a great experience for us too. Kuroka cheered out as she skipped over to Naruto, placing an arm around Naruto's shoulders. Naruto did notice something vastly different between Kuroka and Rias. Rias is still growing and is the same age as Naruto. However, Naruto did notice that Kuroka seemingly is much more mature, physically, in more areas than Rias. Then she feels how much of her body is underneath the baggy kimono that she wears. Well, why don't we get going home, you two, and you guys can meet my family. Naruto turned and began to walk out of the alley with Kuroka, Sharon, and Behemoth in tow. Backquote, 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 backquote. Sitri Mansion. Naruto and Behemoth escorted Kuroka and Sharon to the mansion. Naruto looked to Kuroka once they entered the mansion, asking, are you sure you want to join? Once you do, there isn't much you can do to go back. Kuroka smiled, looking at the mansion. Honestly, I think it is safer for us. Kuroka then looked back to Naruto. If more devils of nobility like that come after us, it'll be harder and harder to refuse. Wise decision indeed, Kuroka. Many devils unlike Naruto-sama will force others to be their servants. Behemoth looked to them, to which Kuroka looked onwards in worry. Sharon was even concerned about the mere thought. Naruto shook his head. I wish most devils weren't like that, but you do what you can to make some things right. Just then Naruto saw Sona come walking up. Oni-sama, who are these two? These two decided to come with me after a close encounter with Dynabirius. He tried to make them join his peerage. Naruto gestured his hand towards Kuroka and Sharon. Sona smiled as she looked at the two. That's wonderful. Guess what? I so happen to also have just gotten my queen. Sona stepped to the side. A young girl who was the same age as Sona came and walked out. She had straight long black hair that went down to behind her knees. She had split bangs and heterochromia eyes. Her left eye is violet and the right is light brown. Naruto, seeing Tsubaki, gave her a polite bow. A pleasure to meet you, glad to have you a part of the family. Of course, Tsubaki gave a polite bow to Naruto. I'm glad to be of service to you and Sona-sama. Naruto chuckled as he walked over to the two. Naruto was a bit taller than Sona by a couple of inches and Tsubaki by one. Naruto placed a hand on the top of Tsubaki's head. No need to be so formal and stiff around me and Sona. We're all family now, so let's do our best to get to know one another. Tsubaki smiled and blushed a bit from Naruto's touch, though it was more of a brotherly touch she felt. Of course, I promise to serve the house of Sitri and Sona well. I expect nothing less than Sona and her peerage. Naruto smiled and turned to Kuroka and Sharon. As I stated before to you two are a part of my peerage now. I promise to take care of you both, so please don't hesitate to ask if you ever need anything. I'm okay with it, NYA. Kuroka skipped up to Naruto as she raised one hand in the air and raised one leg behind her. Sharon and I will get to be with one another forever and ever. Naruto smiled and nodded his head. Alright then, you two can decide where you want your rooms to. Naruto was cut off by Kuroka. Kuroka smiled as she looked at her little sister. Okay then. I call bunking with Naruto-sama in his room. Kuroka cheered out happily as Sharon looked to Kuroka shocked. Sona looked to Kuroka as if she was crazy. What? Hell no. Satan's no. Mao's no. Mo, why not? I want to be by my Naruto-sama if I am his peerage member. I need to protect him, and make sure all his needs are met every day. When I mean needs, I'm talking about all of them. Kuroka walked up to Naruto, placing one of his arms between her breasts. Booby monster. Sharon glared at Kuroka as she seemingly got close to their new master. Sona, angry, walked over and pulled Kuroka off. Stay off of Oni-sama. I don't know what type of hooker of an Nekomata you got. Sona turned to Naruto. You have to take her back, before she takes some more. Well, to be fair, Kuroka placed a finger on her lip. I was going to begin aiming for Naruto-sama's first spot in his heart, but I guess his virginity works too. Hell no, leave my Oni-sama out of your perverted mouth, you horny cat. Sona grew angry as ice began to form off of her body. Oni-sama, Eki. Sharon stood next to Sona, tightening a glove around her fist. Kuroka began to sweat. Naruto-sama, protect me. Naruto just sighed. What have I gotten myself into? Backquote, 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 backquote. Few days later, Gamori stayed just outside of Kuro, Japan. Naruto and Sona were invited along with their queens to Rias's cabin in Japan. Rias was able to convince her parents to let them stay an extra night. Naruto was sitting at the dinner table as Naruto looked to Graphia. Thanks for the meal, Graphia. It was wonderful. Graphia gave a polite bow. Of course, Naruto-sama. It was my pleasure. Yes, it was lovely indeed, NYA. Kuroka finished up some fish skewers that were just out of this world. Sharon nodded with her thanks of appreciation towards Graphia. Dinner was wonderful as always, Graphia. Yes, thank you. Sona nodded, giving her thanks. Thank you. Tsubaki also gave her thanks to Graphia. It's always my pleasure to serve you, Naruto Ukaioji, Rias Ojo-sama, and Sona Ojo-sama. Graphia gave another polite bow. It's also always a pleasure to serve their queens and rook, of course, too. Once she finished giving a polite bow, she looked at everyone and said, with that said, all the hot baths are prepared for everyone to join. Please enjoy yourselves. Naruto went towards the baths and got ready to go in. The only problem with being a male is he was heavily outnumbered compared to the girls. He was the only male and was going to spend time bathing alone. However, he didn't mind it once he got outside and slipped into the hot springs. Naruto heard the girls on the other side of the wood wall walking out. They were all chatting up storms of whatever gossip they could get. Rias, as usual, was on her rants about anime as normal. Wow, I didn't think Little Red was so big into anime. Kuroka looked to Rias rather surprised. Well, it's all thanks to Seraphal-sama. She was the one who got me into it. Rias blushed in embarrassment, but she might as well let Kuroka and Sharon know about her likes. Hopefully not all of her tendencies rub off on you. Sona slowly closed his eyes as she sank into the hot warm water along with Tsubaki. The more you guys talk about this Serafal, she seems like a really interesting person. Kuroka looked at Sona and Rias and wondered what she was like. Sona slowly opened her eyes to look at Kuroka. Omisama is a wonderful Omisama, but she can be, what's the word? Extreme, Naruto answered out. Over the top, Sona added. Bro-con, Naruto said with a deadpan expression. Sis-con, Sona finished with the same expression as Naruto. Kuroka deadpanned. Oh, wow, but isn't she a mouse, shouldn't she? Sona cut Kuroka off. More responsible, show self-restraint, not wear inappropriate outfits, sexually assault me or Omisama, the list could go on. Do you want me to continue? Sona looked at Kuroka who seemingly looked at Sona crazily. Sharon simply said, your Omisama sounds like a handful. That's the understatement of the century. Naruto commented which made everyone laugh. Don't forget about Searsek-sama Rias. He's not as bad as Omisama, but he's still a sis-con nonetheless. Naruto leaned his head up against the wall of the hot springs while closing his eyes. However, a voice spoke up. Indeed, Searsek-sama should show more tact and be more appropriate. Especially as his status of a Mao. Naruto's eyes shot open as he looked towards the voice. G. Grathia. W. What are you doing in here? Everyone heard Naruto calling out Grathia's name and they all wondered what was going on. Grathia, who was sitting there with an emotionless look on her face, sat there with a towel around her. Naruto couldn't help but stare at Grathia. Her beautiful red eyes did capture his eyes for a moment. Even Naruto had to admit that Grathia looked, damn his devil genes. Back when he was Jiraiya, it was way easier to keep his devil instincts in control. Grathia smiled looking at Naruto and let out a giggle. It was a little too easy to tease. I'm simply here to keep you company, Naruto-sama. Do not worry. Naruto seemingly nods his head. Just then Naruto heard the girls mumbling and talking on the other side. Then before he could realize what was going on, Naruto saw the men's side door open up and his eyes widened. Naruto shouted, what are you girls doing? Rias skipped on over in her birthday suit without a care in the world. She went into the hot spring with Kuroka who came running out with a towel on. Kuroka shouted back, I may not get why we're going over here, but this will be fun. Kuroka said almost innocently as she also came into the baths. Sharon walked in with a deadpan expression on her face. I can't believe I got talked into this. Sharon did have a towel around her body. But it's to hang out with Naruto, that way he isn't lonely here without us. Rias smiled over to which Sharon looked away embarrassed. Sona sighed as she came walking in annoyed. As much as I am against this, I guess it's fine since it's you Omisama. If it was Omisama I would have refused. I love keeping you company, but sometimes company isn't always welcome. Naruto finished her sentence to which Sona nodded her head in agreement. I'm simply following Sona-sama. Tsubaki added to which Naruto understood by nodding his head. Naruto just stayed sitting in his spot. Thankfully he had a towel around his waist. While everyone began talking, Rias had to ask, hey, Grathia, I've noticed lately more you've been around the Grimori house. Why is that? Grathia looked to Rias and without any emotion on her face said, Searsek-sama has ordered me to do so. He has been busy with other matters that do not require my assistance. Sona looked to Grathia interested. Now that you mention that Grathia, Mizor, and Estet if I remember correctly have been helping out Omisama and Searsek-sama a lot lately. I heard about something to do with the Yukai faction leader, right? Yeah, I remember Omisama mentioning something like that. Wasn't it like bettering relationships with the Yukai faction? Naruto looked to Grathia curious about what was going on because apparently, it was big news. Grathia nodded her head. I was informed that Serafal-sama has become the representative for devils to the Yukai faction. I heard Searsek-sama and Tamamo-sama have come to discuss things in relations between the Yukai and devil factions. For now, that is all I can tell you, so information is privy to only the Maos. Even I don't know what is fully going on. Interesting, I'm sure Omisama and Searsek-sama got it under control. Naruto finished, though even still wasn't Grathia his queen. She would technically be there. Nonetheless, there isn't more they could cry on. Naruto stood up. I think I'll call it here, girls, so you all have a good night. Naruto waved to all of them. Can I join you? Rias asked with some excitement in her voice to which Kuroka looked at Rias. Then Sharon looked to Naruto to her sister with a slight blush on her face. Ooh, can I join Naruto-sama? Kuroka shot up from the water as she raised a hand in the air. Sona shouted out, absolutely not, you two. Sona had an angry look on her face. You two will not do that with Omisama. Sona who had her towel on stood up. Omisama, it's time for you to go. Sona began to push Naruto out of the spa area. Okay, I'm going. Naruto relented as Sona pushed him. Don't you dare turn around either. Rias and Kuroka aren't wearing their towels. Sona yelled once again as she pushed Naruto out and through the door. She then shut it and turned to Kuroka and Rias. Now listen here you two. I'm going to give you two a piece of my mind. Sona respects Naruto way too much to let Rias and Kuroka just sleep with him. She isn't so sure about Kuroka. She doesn't know if she'll do anything when he sleeps. When it's Rias, she'll probably try to seduce him. Rias puffed her cheeks out. I just like sleeping with others. Sharon here has been a great body pillow for me. Rias crossed her arms over her chest. Rias is quite spoiled in her family. Sona sighed as she shook her head. The answer is no. Kuroka raised an eyebrow and crossed her arms over her chest. Sona. What is it? Sona turned to Kuroka annoyed. Are you jealous because you think one of us will steal Naruto away from you? Kuroka asked curiously to which Sona felt that statement hit a nerve. W what? And no. Omisama is a great person and anyone who gets with him will be lucky to have him. I am his Naruto just looking out for him, so no random stank of a woman takes advantage of him. Sona pretended as if she was fixing her glasses to her face. Tsubaki sighed mentally. Poor choice Sona-sama. You may be smarter and brighter than Naruto-sama. However, you are much more gullible than you are. Bro-con. Kuroka smirked as she began to float in the air with her devil wings laying on her side resting her chin on her hand. What? I am certainly am not. Sona fired back. R2. Am not. R2 tilde. You can't change my mind tilde. Kuroka sang out hearing a red blush from Sona as she glared daggers at Naruto's queen. Ah, why you? I'm returning to my room for the night. Sona screamed out as she began walking towards the door. Tsubaki stood up with her towel still around her and began to follow Sona. However, Tsubaki suddenly shouted, Sona-sama, wait. Sadly, it was too late as Sona slammed the door off its hinges. Naruto stood there blankly but naked putting his clothes on. Naruto has yet to put his underwear on. He only had a shirt on. Naruto deadpanned. Wow, could this get any worse? Naruto deadpanned at. Just then the door to the men's side opened up. Naruto tilde. So tilde, your super hard-working Oni-chan got done with all her work. She decided to spend some quality time with her family. I was informed that. Serafal stopped as she opened her eyes to see Naruto standing there without underwear on, and Sona walking in on him with only a towel on. Serafal smiled happily with a blush on her face. Oh, so Naruto-tan. You two are so bold. Who knew you two had this secret incestuous fetish? Don't leave me out. Never mind, things just got a whole lot worse. Naruto sighed. He wanted to disappear now. Backquote. Later that night, Naruto opened his eyes from his slumber and slowly tried to sit up. However, he felt a weight on his chest. Naruto looked down to find Rias sleeping next to him. She was resting her head on his chest. Naruto went to move her off, but he couldn't move his arm. Naruto looked to his right to find Kuroka sleeping on his right arm cuddled up close to him. Rias was more or less on his left side. Naruto sighed as she laid his head back. Geez, today is not my day. Naruto turned his head towards the window to see that it was open. A gentle breeze came to the window, pushing the curtains away. Naruto saw the moonlight shine into the room. Just then Naruto heard from the window, "No. Leave me and my daughter alone. Akeno, run inside." Naruto's eyes widened at the voice calling for help. Naruto, using his strength, was able to free himself from Rias's tight grip. Naruto quickly flew out the window with his wings out, and before he left, he shouted, "Rias. Kuroka, wake up. Try to follow me out of here." From that shout, Rias and Kuroka were quickly shocked away from their slumber. Naruto, not waiting for them to follow, was in hot pursuit of the person who shouted for help. Naruto flew over some trees and soon came to what looked like a compound. Naruto flew over a house and what looked like a group of men entering into a house. Naruto flew downwards as he extended one leg out. Naruto smashed through the roof and landed on the ground. Naruto noted he landed right on top of a human, slamming his head into the ground. Naruto looked behind him with his wings extended out. Naruto saw a beautiful woman who had long, flowing black hair and light brown eyes. She had wounds on her body and looked like she was using her body as a shield protecting something or someone. Naruto turned his head back towards the men and glared at them, causing his dark blue eyes to shine in the night. "I'll warn you all once, leave." Naruto held his hand up as frost began to come off of his hand. The group of men that was originally 5 were down to 4. One shouted, "He's a devil, a monster, kill it." He raised a baseball bat. "It's a demon from hell, show it no mercy." Another raised another pitchfork. "Don't let his appearance of a child fool you." This man raised a knife. "Kill him and then kill the woman and child. We can't let our clan have such a stain in its family." This man seemingly raised a katana. Naruto frowned as he extended his hand out, then perish. Naruto shot a wave of ice from his hand that froze the men from head to toe. Then men were encased in cold black ice he created from his hand. Naruto soon turned around to find the woman and her daughter both looking at him. Naruto noted the woman was injured and the daughter being protected by the arm of the mother. "I mean no harm." The girl who seemed to be about his age shouted, "Leave me and Ka-chan alone. Don't hurt us." She had a fierce look in her eye, but with tears staining her cheeks. Naruto raised both hands up. "I mean no harm. Let me get you somewhere safe and heal your mother. She won't last too much longer. She's losing blood." Shuri knew what Naruto was saying was true. Not knowing the name of their savior, she looked to Akeno and said, "El, listen," to the boy. Shuri slumped over, to which Akeno caught her. "Ka-chan, wake up, wake up." Akeno shouted with worry in her eyes, seeing her mother breathe heavily. Naruto slowly walked over. "Let me help." Naruto flinched in pain as he felt lighting shoot in his direction. Akeno screamed out, "Stay away." She held her hands up as holy lighting shot at Naruto, causing his muscles to tense up. Naruto, feeling some of the worst pain in his life, pushed through. Even though his skin was beginning to burn, he pushed through. Wait. Stop, we need to save your mom." Naruto pushed through and gently grabbed Akeno's hands as she looked at him in shock. Naruto ignored the pain momentarily and said, "It's okay. Let us help your mother." Naruto smiled as Akeno continued to send electricity through Naruto's body. Akeno looked back at her mother and saw her breathing was getting worse. She stopped her attack on Naruto and dropped her head. Please, help my Ka-chan." Akeno lifted her head back up with tears running down her cheeks. "Of course, and that's a promise, and I won't break that." Naruto, painfully, moved and walked over to her mother. Naruto analyzed the wounds. She really needs medical attention now. If she doesn't get it, she'll bleed out and then die. Just then Naruto looked up to see Kuroka and Rias finally landing next to him. "Kuroka, go back and get Gracia. Tell her to set up a medical bed. Rias, grab this little girl and get back to the house. I got this one." Naruto, even with the blisters around his body, picked the woman up and hoisted her on his shoulder. Rias placed an arm around the girl and took off into the air. Naruto shot his wings out and took flight with Rias back to her parents' cabin house. Backquote. Inside. Naruto flew back through the window and found Gracia, Tsubaki, Kaneko, and Kuroka there. Gracia was already there waiting to administer the first aid. However, once everyone noticed Naruto come walking in, Gracia's eyes widened. "Naruto-sama, your skin. You have blisters and more all over you. I can feel light hurting you on the inside." Gracia went to Naruto worriedly. Just then Rias came in with the girl that shocked Naruto. Gracia's eyes quickly looked at her. "How dare you harm Naruto-sama?" The girl looked at Gracia scared as Naruto quickly said, "No. Gracia, heal her mother." "Naruto-sama, your injuries. You're still young, being exposed to. Heal this woman first. She needs it more than I do." Naruto argued back as he went over and placed Akeno's mother on the bed. "That's an order." Gracia collected her composure. "I'm sorry for my outburst, Naruto-sama. I shall do as you asked of me." Gracia walked over and began to heal the woman. Naruto watched as Gracia walked up and extended her hands out. A green hue appeared from her hands as she began to heal the woman. Naruto, feeling exhaustion, took over and went onto one knee. Kuroka, who was nearby, quickly stopped him from falling. Kuroka looked to Naruto worriedly. "I can do some healing, but I'm not an expert at removing light." Kuroka placed her hands on Naruto. The girl who injured Naruto took a step back away as Rias quickly went over to Naruto. Rias looked worriedly at Naruto. "Are you okay?" I'm sorry, I can't help. I was never taught how to remove the holy properties." Sharon looked at the girl and said, "You smell like an angel." The girl balled her fists tightly, holding her hands close to her chest. She looked down and away. She looked towards her mother. I'm sorry." She quickly made her way to the bed, wanting to be by her mother. Gracia, still upset, says, "You're lucky that Naruto Uchiha so happens to have heard your mother's cries for help, as well as not letting me administer first aid to him first. He, Sona Ojo-sama, and Rias Ojo-sama come before you. I hope you understand that." Gracia's eyes went back towards healing the girl's mother. Akeno could feel the woman's rather dislike for her, but could she blame her? She fired a lot of holy lighting at their friend. In this case, this woman's master in some way. Rias smiled as she stayed back along with the others as Gracia healed the woman. "So, she'll be alright, right?" The girl looked up to Gracia hoping for good news. "Yes, she'll be just fine. There was a deep wound. If not healed quickly, she would have bled out and died. Luckily for you, Naruto Uchiha is so considerate. You best give him your utmost thanks and gratitude, young lady." Gracia didn't even look away from this girl's mother as she focused on closing the wound in her lower right back area. Naruto, who was being slowly healed by Kuroka, felt his burns and boils go away. However, the holy magic within him wasn't going away anytime soon. Naruto flinched in pain and began to sweat since it was within his devil's body. Gracia looked at Naruto worriedly. Soon Gracia quickly finished. "There, your mother is healed. Now I need to tend to Naruto Uchiha." Gracia immediately went over to Naruto and placed her hand on Naruto. Gracia held her hand up as a dark spell appeared in her hand. "Do not worry, Naruto-sama. I shall rid your body of all this holy power." Akeno watched from the side as she watched Naruto begin to fall unconscious. Akeno, nervous, shouted, "I am Akeno Himehima. Thank you for healing my Ka-chan. Thank you very much." Akeno gave a bow to Naruto and the others. Naruto smiled as he slowly fell asleep. Gracia immediately began to work on Naruto, removing the holy magic from his body. Naruto, wake up soon. Seraphol whined out as she slumped into her chair. Estet sighed as she stood next to Seraphol's desk. Naruto-sama took a major hit from light. "I'm not surprised he has been out for a few days." Seraphol puffed her cheeks out and sat back up in her seat. She looked at her paperwork and went back to sign some papers. "So, what ended up happening to the daughter of Baruchio?" "From what I've heard, she has joined Rias Ojo-sama as her queen. Though, Sona-sama and Rias-sama have been looking after Naruto-sama. Gracia also was ordered to stay close as Naruto-sama heals." Estet stood there with her hand behind her back. Soon, there was a knock on the door as it opened and Behemoth came walking in. "Seraphol-sama, I have come with more work." Behemoth floated stacks of paper over to Seraphol, who let out a loud raspberry. More, why? I just want to go see Naruto. Seraphol shouted out loud as she slumped back into her chair. Behemoth chuckled, scratching his cheek. Don't worry, the others, specifically Rafia, are looking over him. He's in good hands. Behemoth thought back to Naruto. It was impressive for a devil of his age to power through holy power. Nonetheless, it still hurts most regardless, but Naruto should have had much more severe wounds than what he had. Just then Seraphol sat back up and asked seriously, do you think Naruto awoken some sort of new power? Seraphol placed her hand on her chin. I wonder if it was from the king piece he absorbed. Behemoth and Esdeath were informed of Naruto's king piece. It was only known to the current Maus, Behemoth, Esdeath, Mira, and Heir Sitri. Not too sure, but I'm sure he is fine. After all, he has everyone looking over him. Behemoth smiled, looking out the window. Seraphol still puffed her cheeks out. She was forced to leave after Esdeath came to take her back. Just as things were getting spicy between Naruto and Sona, Seraphol was immediately reprimanded by Esdeath and Mizor, who accompanied her. Seraphol was forced to return back to her Mau duties since she snuck out. Mira warned Seraphol as well. If she tried anything more that was inappropriate with Naruto and Sona without their consent, she'd make Seraphol go 10 years without seeing them. But that meant for Seraphol, I must make them fall for me and for each other. That was the only thing that kept Seraphol going. Backquote, 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 backquote. With Naruto and everyone else. It's been almost 3 days since Naruto was shocked by Akino's holy lighting. Naruto slowly began to stir as he opened his eyes gradually. Naruto slowly sat up as he held his hand on his head. He could feel his body seemingly still vibrating from the shock of his life. Of course, his body was all healed up. Though something felt off, something was different about him. However, he was cut from his thoughts when he got a closer look around him. To not much of Naruto's surprise, he saw Rias, Kuroka, and Sharon sleeping nearby. Though what was new was a girl with black hair, for Naruto it clicked quickly. That was the girl he saved. If I remember correctly, her name was Akino. Wasn't it? Exactly, you're right. A low voice spoke up, to which Naruto noted it did not come from the room. Naruto stayed quiet and asked, what the, who and what are you? And are you within me? For how young you are, you're surprisingly strong for a devil such as yourself. But yes, I am the one talking to you. Naruto looked at himself as he felt something on his right arm. Naruto lifted it up as a green gem seemingly appeared. First off, this shouldn't be possible. I thought this was a normal sacred gear. The being that seemingly resided within Naruto began to chuckle and laugh. Indeed, how astute you are, Naruto Sitri, or should I say, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Even still, I'm rather surprised to be within a full-blooded devil of all things. Besides, I've watched you grow and get stronger. You've not gotten strong enough to finally hear me. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Naruto looked at his arm, continuing to communicate with this being. So explain it to me, how does a full-blooded devil such as myself have a sacred gear to begin with? The being within Naruto remained silent for a moment. Then it replied, honestly, even I don't fully understand what's going on. The only thing that I could possibly think of is someone who is on a higher level of power than God. As well as Ophis or even Great Red. Naruto stared at the green glowing orb on the top of his hand, and nonetheless still strange. So what now? Who are you and what's your name? Naruto to Ddraig's surprise was being mildly calm about this. I'm sure you got a good idea, but I am none other than Ddraig. The Welsh dragon, otherwise known as the Red Dragon Emperor. One of the 13 original Longinus. Okay then, that's interesting. Naruto closed his eyes, letting a sigh out. Man, what a drag. Naruto thought back to the Nara clan. Well, this is something I don't even know how to explain. I've been able to access the ability to double my power, but I expect it to be a mere twice critical myself. I understand, but I'm sure you've noticed I'm far more than you know. Though for some reason, even with how strong you were, I was unable to make any contact with you until now. Regardless, I've watched for a while you training to get stronger. Now you're at this level, you can begin to use even more of my abilities. Of course, at the current moment, I'm sure your family will have tons of questions for you. For now, I'm glad to have at least talked to you. That fallen angel girl was able to push your body far, even if it was some holy lighting. Ddraig scoffed out, knowing originally something like that wouldn't affect him. Nonetheless, you're a full-blooded devil, but you're far more than that. I'm sure we both know you're not like most devils. Story of my life, Naruto muttered, but then there was a knock on his door. Oni-sama, if you're up, I'm coming in. Naruto heard the voice of his twin sister Sona. The door opened as Sona came walking through. Naruto sat there with a smile on his face with his right hand in the air, giving Sona a salute. Yo. Sona smiled as she smiled, seeing her big brother awake. Oni-sama. Wonderful year. Sona stopped in her tracks as she got closer and saw the girl sleeping in his bed. Sona frowned, annoyed as she walked over to the lights. She flicked them on, which caused some of the girls to begin stirring. Sona walked over with a pout on her face. How many times do I need to tell them? This is the third day in a row. Sona walked over to Rias as she slept next to Naruto in a rather revealing nightgown. Sona was angry, seeing Rias' maturity coming through quicker than hers. Sona raised her hand up. Say sorry. Slap. Rias was suddenly jolted awake from her slumber. Kya. Rias seemingly jumped in the air as she landed on the bed. Rias turned to her bum and gently rubbed it and turned to Sona. Sona. What was that for? That was mean. Say sorry for what? Sona crossed her arms over her chest. You know exactly what I mean. Sorry to Oni-sama for disturbing his important sleep. Then dressing in such a ridiculous and inappropriate outfit. Then overall, apologize to girls like me and Sharon. Sharon began to slowly stir, hearing her name being called out. Kuroka awoke and stretched like a cat. NYA. I'm trying to sleep. Besides, Sharon has nothing to apologize for. Kuroka snuggled up closer to Naruto. She's cute and adorable just the way she is. ZZZZZ. Kuroka fell back asleep. Naruto chuckled as he patted Kuroka's head as she seemingly purred like a cat. Sharon who opened and I said, Rias, you should apologize. Sharon then closed her eyes and mumbled, booby monsters. Rias rubbing her butt side looking at Sona. Mo, I like sleeping with Naruto though. He's warm. Rias smiled with a blush of her own. Sona frowned. TCH. Just get out already. We're going home, Oni-sama. Sona began to walk out annoyed. All she wanted to do was take care of her brother. Bro-con, Kuroka whispered. Stupid cat. Sona slammed the door behind her. Naruto looked down to see that Akino was up, though she was crawling up to Naruto like some sort of predator. Ah, can I help you? Akino smiled as she looked at Naruto. Well, I didn't get to thank my savior from the other night. Akino got up into his face as she looked into his eyes. My savior who also rescued my Ka-chan. Thank you. Akino looked Naruto up and down with a smile, and she began to trace a finger on Naruto's chest. You know, you aren't too bad on the eyes. In fact, you are quite. Akino. Rias called out, gaining her queen's attention. I told you Naruto is mine. Rias placed her arms around Naruto's neck. Don't get ahead of yourself, little red. Kuroka let out a yawn as she snuggled her face into Naruto's lap. Naruto-sama is mine as well. Though I don't mind sharing. Kuroka began to drift off to sleep again, though something seems different. Naruto-sama smells like a dragon. Nah, it's just my imagination. Kuroka was going to have to lay off the catnip. That was probably the reason. Naruto seamlessly rolls his eyes as he listens to the girls argue. It wasn't anything new to him. He and Itachi were quite popular back in the academy. However, the fangirls were rather difficult to deal with all the time. Naruto turned to Rias and asked, that reminds me, when did you start calling Sharon Kaneko? Why? Sharon, who lay there asleep on his legs, blushed and turned away. Naruto had to admit that was cute. Rias smiled as she looked at Sharon. I don't know, I just thought of a cute endearing nickname for her. though it is a good nickname for her as Kimiko when we go to study in high school at Kuo Academy. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You still want to go to the human world to study there? Naruto understood it since it would be a nice getaway from all the noble devil stuff here. Yeah, it'll be fun. Are you going to join Sona and me for our first year together? I'm sure Onisama can get us all enrolled as first years. Rias looked at Naruto excitedly. She would love to attend with Naruto and Sona. I'll think about it. I don't think it's anything I'm against. Naruto sat himself up a bit more. Well, with that said, we should let Gracia know I'm awake. Has she been all right? Kuroka opened a lazy eye. She said something about the queen being able to look after you. So, she went to rest after taking care of you for 2 days. I see. I'll have to thank her, and thank you for taking care of me today. Naruto reached out and rubbed Kuroka's head like a cat as she purred into his hand. Come on, let's all get to breakfast before Sona comes back again. Rias along with Sharon, Akino, and Kuroka got off Naruto so he could get out of bed. The group soon began to make their way downstairs. Naruto walked into the dining room to see Gracia setting food down. Naruto waved to her. Thanks for looking after me, Gracia. I really appreciate it. Gracia gave Naruto a polite bow. Of course, it is expected of me, Naruto-sama. The group all sat down for breakfast to which everyone enjoyed themselves. Though, soon after Naruto was summoned to the living room, Naruto walked into the room to find a woman who looked very similar to Akino, albeit older. The older woman went onto the floor and gave Naruto a bow. Naruto raised his hands into the air. Whoa, wait, you don't have to do that. Gracia stood by to the side with Kuroka since she was his queen. Akino did kneel next to her mother as well. I know, but I can't thank you enough. Not only did you save my life and go out of your way, you could have possibly been killed yourself. You went above and beyond to save my daughter. Even though she didn't understand the situation we were in. Naruto decided to just relent and appreciate the gratitude he was being shown. I understand. I am just glad I was able to do what was right. Besides, a mother should get to be with her daughter. For that, I am thankful. Thankful I get to be with her longer and watch her grow up. The woman bowed again and raised her head. With that said, I am Shuri Himehima. A pleasure to meet you, Naruto-sama. Please no need for Sama, just call me Naruto. Naruto quickly responded, to which Shuri accepted. I have been taken under the Grimori House's protection. I was given a place to stay here for now. I will move in with you guys when you attend Kuo Academy. Shuri added, which surprised Naruto as he raised an eyebrow. I'm so glad that Akino will get to go with people like you and Rias. I'm happy she has a chance to make great friends. Naruto deadpanned. Wow, it's almost as if I don't have a choice and I'm expected to go. Naruto thought back to Rias, who she said it would be nice if he joined. Well, we'll see. Rias and Sona have been talking about it a lot. Shuri smiled seeing Naruto's response. At least he was seeing about it. I see. Well, I won't take up too much of your time. So, please do take care. I've got some of my own business to take care of. Shuri turned to Gracia with a sickly sweet smile on her face. I need to have a few words with my family. Gracia placed a hand over her chest. I shall be accompanying her, Naruto-sama. I promise no harm will befall her. Naruto nodded his head as he noticed a man standing off in the corner. Naruto saw him come walking in. This man had the appearance of a middle-aged, rough-looking man with black hair, a matching beard, and a muscular body. He stood there as he watched Shuri walk out, giving him a happy wave. He watched as Gracia and Akino left, but with Akino having a rather unsure look on her face. Naruto, Kuroka, and this man were the only ones left in the room. Then it clicked for Naruto. You were the one who summoned me for an audience, am I wrong? The man smiled looking at Naruto, but quickly his expression turned sour as he seemingly imposed his magic onto Naruto. Naruto began to sweat as Kuroka even readied herself to fight. Naruto stood there as he quickly summoned up his own demonic power. This caused the air to grow quite cold as a black icy aura appeared around him. The two held the power for a moment until it was stopped by the man there. His face relaxed to a smile on his face. Naruto knew who this man was, who he was to Akino, and his status in the Grigori. You must be Barkio. Your reputation of being one of the Grigori's strongest still remains prominent. Naruto made sure to address the man with respect. Barkio nodded his head, and when the two felt everyone else's magical signatures leave, Barkio quickly went down on all fours and never had Naruto ever seen a man really cry. He was a strong warrior, and quite powerful as well, not to be taken lightly. Yet here he was crying and bowing to Naruto on all fours. Thank you. There are no words or even the amount of gratitude. Thank you for rescuing my daughter and wife when I failed to do so. Naruto looked closer at the man and noticed something. His right shoulder was clearly shaking, not to him being scared. His shoulder was wounded. He could ever so slightly see wraps on his neck. He did well to cover up his wounds, and Naruto noticed some cut marks on his clothing that were quickly and sloppily sewn back together. No need to thank me. I did what was right. But we are enemies. You are of a noble devil house and I. No, that doesn't matter. Naruto interjected as Barkio looked up to Naruto. You have a beautiful wife and daughter. I'm sure you have your reasons, and your wounds on your body say otherwise. I could easily see myself doing this if it was Rias, Kuroka, Sharon, or even my twin sister Sona. I'd be thankful for whoever saved their lives if I wasn't able to be there. Barkio smiled at Naruto's kind nature, something that was different from the normal devil. You have my utmost thanks and respect if you ever need anything. Please don't hesitate to ask. Naruto nodded his head, but he had to know. I must know. Will you tell Akino? Barkio stayed quiet as he thought long and hard about it. I think, for now it's best that I distance myself from my family. Shuri needs to look after Akino and make sure she grows up well. If I were to be there, I'd just... No, Naruto quickly interrupted Barkio. Your daughter needs you more than ever. She needs answers. She needs to know what is really going on, otherwise, she could hate you. I'm sure you already know she joined Rias' peerage as her queen. You need to train her, help her grow stronger. That way, she can defend herself. Of course, I'll do my best to as well. Barkio smiled and nodded his head. You next generation devils are interesting. Never have I heard words come out of a devil's mouth like that. I will heed your concern and do what needs to be done. But as you must know, young man, devil or not, I want to know what your intentions with my daughter are. Naruto looked at him surprised, but then again, should he be? This is his precious daughter after all. The way things are, nothing. She is just Rias' queen and a friend. I see. Well, for now that is acceptable. Barkio stood up and extended his hand out. Thanks again for meeting with me. Naruto took a step forward and shook his hand. Of course, no worries. I was glad to help. Soon Barkio took his leave with Naruto and Kuroka being the only ones left in the room. Naruto looked to Kuroka and let a sigh of relief out. Well, I feel like that went well NYA, though why now? That was quick and unexpected. Naruto shook his head at his queen. No, this is typical Kuroka. Believe it or not, meetings like this can drop out of nowhere and things can happen. All I can do is rely on what Okawa-sama has instilled in me and Sona. So, random stuff like this happens and there's nothing you can do about it. Kuroka looked to Naruto surprised by the circumstances he was in. Naruto simply shrugged his shoulder. Just happens sometimes, especially with a situation like this. The fact that Akino had holy powers meant her father must have been a fallen angel in some way. How tiresome. Kuroka's shoulders slumped and ears deflated. Just then from the doors, Sona stood there. Onisama, since everyone is out, want to spend time together. Sona had the day planned to play a few rounds of chess, a movie, and some board games. Sona meanwhile said all this with a tint of embarrassment on her cheeks, while pushing her two-pointer fingers together. Tsubaki stood there silently next to her king listening to the things she wanted to do with her twin. To Tsubaki, this was absolutely the most adorable and most innocent thing she has ever said. Naruto smiled listening to the things that Sona wanted to do, in which he nodded his head. Yeah, we can do that. Let us head back home first, and once Okasama and Otusama know I'm fine we should be good to go. Sona had a smile on her face until she noticed Kuroka standing behind Naruto but a bit more to his right. Kuroka had a big shit-eating grin on her face as she mouthed, "Bro con." Sona grew angry and quickly turned around and disappeared into a teleportation circle. Naruto, noticing Sona was angry, turned his head to Kuroka with a deadpan expression to which she simply shrugged her shoulders. Naruto just shook his head. He walked over to the table nearby and wrote a note. He left it for Gracia and Rias, thanking them for allowing them to stay over. Of course, he also made sure to say goodbye to them as well within the letter. Then Naruto returned home to join his sister to hang out together. Backquote, 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 backquote. Time skipped few days. It's been roughly a week since Naruto last saw Itachi, and today was the day where they were meeting back up together. Naruto was on the outskirts of the Sitri territory, so, what did your side say about this? Mine are all on board. Itachi came out from behind the boulder that he previously come out from. Itachi walked up to Naruto with a smile on his face. Well, it would be good to have such an advantage against them in the future. Now, I just want to inform you that I am not a full-blooded devil like you are. This surprised Naruto. Oh, then are you part human? Itachi nodded his head. Yes, as long as I could remember. My mother was a devil, but she was half devil. Her last name I recently found out was Lucifer. I do not know how she is now, of course. All I know is I am half Lucifuge on my Otusama's side. Then half human and devil from the Lucifer on my mother's. Naruto's eyes widened at that as he looked at Itachi. Whoa. Dude, for real, like one of the original Lucifers. Even though Naruto asked, he already knew the answer, to which Itachi just nodded his head. Indeed, I do not know what happened to her, but I know I was taken from her at birth. Itachi closed his eyes with a visibly upset look on his face. It's not been easy since my Onisama kept a close eye on me. Now, I got a chance to get away for a bit and get to meet my Onisama. Of course, I would like to track down my Okasama if possible. Naruto smiled as he nodded his head. I'd be happy to help you find where she is. Hey, even in this world we have some rather crazy family members. Don't you agree? Itachi smiled. HM. Itachi simply replied as he nodded his head in agreement. Itachi then said, oh, I should also inform you that I'm in possession of sacred gear. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. Oh, you are? Which one is it? Itachi shook his head. I wield blacksmith blade, a high-tier level sacred gear. It allows me to create any sort of weapon or armor needed in battle. Itachi held up his hand as a holy sword was quickly formed in his hand. Naruto could even feel the blade's power from his spot. However, the drawback of this sacred gear is it takes time. Meaning like a blacksmith, I must create these swords, not by hand. But take the time out of battle to create them using my magic. I may summon forth them anytime I want. I can make the swords to increase my speed. I can make an armor set to have immunity to fire damage. But I'm sure you get the idea, but I cannot give the sword or armor multiple effects. Naruto placed a finger on his lip, definitely a great ability to have, especially with the world we live in. Then Naruto placed his hands on his hips and looked at Itachi with a more serious look on his face. I need to know, what about your Sharingan? Has it awakened to the Mangekyo? Itachi shook his head. No, I have only ever been able to get it to the third tomo. I also learned from a doctor that this is a gene mutation from the Lucifer family, unknown to what it is. They said I should get checked for it regularly. Just to let you know, some of your Mangekyo abilities are named after a pantheon, right? Itachi nodded his head in response. Yes, honestly, I don't know what to make of it either. Though I'm sure it'll be an issue, but for now, that's an issue for the future. We need to focus on getting stronger. Yeah, we need to if we want to bring peace. Though there's something else I found out recently, and don't ask me how. Naruto held his right hand as a red gauntlet appeared on his hand. It was a metal-like glove that went up halfway to his forearm. His fingers were covered with armor but with a green gem in the middle of his hand. Up Naruto's forearm had multiple yellow spikes. Itachi's eyes even widened. Wait, but aren't you a pureblood? Itachi tilted his head to Naruto, to which he nodded his head. It shouldn't be possible, but it is, and I have a high suspicion that the Maus already know. I couldn't really refuse it. Ajuka took a DNA sample of mine so he could monitor me. Naruto sent his sacred gear away and flexed his hand. I'm unsure of what's entirely going on, and why I have one of the two heavenly dragons within me. But I think it is due to us being humans before. Itachi took a moment to think, to which Naruto awaited his response. To which then Itachi's eyes widened as Naruto nodded his head. Itachi said, you may not be fully human or even part human by DNA. But what was really part human about you? Backquote, 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 backquote. Flashback. Naruto was 12. It has already been about 24 hours since Naruto and Sona came to Ajuka to get their evil pieces. Ajuka hooked up Naruto's DNA to an analyzer and began to look over Naruto's DNA, along with Sona as a reference. Of course, Ajuka had the DNA of almost all the head devils of each household. Ajuka was currently going over Naruto's results from his machine overnight. Of course, the readings were normal, but also concerning at the same time. With devil technology being way more advanced than humans, it was easy to determine what type of abilities lay dormant in most devils. For Ajuka, his entire brain was being wrecked with confusion and by the unknown. Ajuka was going over the strands of DNA comparing Naruto to Sona, or even Naruto to Mira or Chromac. Ajuka looked at the results and his eyes widened in confusion. Ajuka turned to his assistants and said, get me Sirzax and Seraphol over here now. I've got something to talk to them about. With that said, the assistant left to summon Sirzax and Seraphol. Without much delay, Sirzax and Seraphol soon came into his laboratory being escorted by Esdeath and Behemoth. Hello, old friend. I heard there was some urgent news. Seraphol came running closer to Ajuka with a worried look on her face. What's wrong? Is that King Peace hurting Naruto? Do we have to take it out of him? Ajuka shook his head and said, actually. Ajuka hit a button on his monitor to show the Sirzax and Seraphol. Actually, his body has adjusted to the King Piece quite quickly and easily. But the true power of that King Piece has been dormant, or at least most of its power. Then if it isn't that, then what is it? Sirzax looked to Ajuka confused. It's just, Naruto's DNA isn't matching that of Myris or Chronac's DNA, but it does at the same time. Ajuka ran his hand through his hair pulling it back. Seraphol placed a finger on her lip and looked up at the ceiling. I'm confused. A comical question mark appeared to come off her head. It's hard to explain. Naruto does share the exact same DNA structures exactly to Mira and Chronac. They are exactly almost the same as Sona's structure and even yours, Seraphol. Ajuka zoomed in on Naruto's DNA structure which began to show data on the strands that glowed green showing matches Mira, Chronac, and Sona. Just then 9 more strands appeared and flashed red showing they were not matches. However, these 9 other strands, of wherever they came from is unknown. It's like, Naruto has parents, but a total of 11 separate parents. But Mira and Chronac came together to make up of Naruto, but these 9 others just came out of nowhere. Even I am scratching my head trying to get around it, and neither of those DNAs matches with anyone else in the underworld, let alone other factions. Sirzax was even baffled. That's a lot to take in, but that shouldn't even be possible. Naruto should share Myris and Chronac's DNA roughly 50-50 even. Are they dangerous or anything for Naruto? Seraphol didn't understand everything, but she was more or less concerned for Naruto's physical health. Not from what I'm getting, it's more like a mutation trait. Like the Phoenix are known for their regenerative abilities and the Bale's power of destruction. Ajuka continued to look at the computer screen, still baffled himself. I see. Can this be passed down to the next generation? Sirzax asked curiously, to which Ajuka nodded his head, yes. But that's not all. Ajuka pointed to a certain blinking icon on the screen. Sirzax and Seraphol stared at it for a moment wondering what it was. Just then Sirzax said, wait, Ajuka, isn't that the sacred gear sensor we installed? Serafall's eyes widened at that sentence. Wait, that can't be possible. Naruto is a full-blooded devil. There shouldn't be any way for him to have one. Ajuka nodded his head. I did this a numerous number of times to make sure it wasn't faulty. It works, and there is no error within the system. I wonder what heaven thinks. I mean, this is pretty big for Michael and Gabriel. A being like Naruto I feel like shouldn't even exist with what he has. Sears X placed a hand on his chin. Serafall, has Naruto awakened the sacred gear yet? Serafall shook her head. No, at least from what I know. Serafall would have to ask Behemoth and Esteth. They were asked to stay up in the lobby of the mansion. I doubt Behemoth nor Esteth even know. Sears X placed his hand on his chin. With the way I've heard Naruto is from Serafall and Rias. His dream was to bring world peace. Serafall frowned. Why did it have to be Naruto? Why couldn't it have been some random other child than my Naruto? Serafall sighed. He has, and is desiring to grow stronger. I wouldn't be surprised if he awakens it soon. Serafall looked to Ajuka and Sears X. Maybe it's something we need to ask of him. We'll also have to inform Lady Sitri and Lord Sitri. Ajuka closed his eyes looking back to the computer with Naruto's data on it. Serafall hated this, but for now, she'll have to keep a close eye on her little brother. Backquote. End of flashback back at the Sitri mansion. Naruto then soon returned back to the house with Itachi as a brand new peerage member. Naruto was met by Sona who looked at him surprised. Onisama, I didn't know you went out looking for new members. Naruto chuckled a bit. Yeah, you remember the guy Itachi I told you about. He came to me and wanted to join me. He's from the Lucifuge clan like Graphia is from. Behemoth came walking in and bowed. Welcome home Naruto-sama, and a pleasure to see you Itachi. I'm glad it's under better circumstances. Itachi bowed politely, likewise, and happy to meet you all. Just then from the doorway, a yawn came out. Kuroka stretched, NYA. That was a good nap. Oh hello Naruto-sama, oh who is this? Kuroka got up close to Itachi as he simply raised an eyebrow. I'll introduce myself once we meet everyone. It is easier than having to repeat myself. Itachi stated with a rather monotone voice which Behemoth picked up on. Eventually, Sona got Tsubaki and met everyone in the living room. Itachi bowed to everyone. A pleasure to meet all of you. My name is Itachi Lucifuge. I'm sure you might know who I already am. I promise to serve the house of Sitri well and protect Naruto-sama with my very being. Well, it's nice to meet you. Welcome to the family. Kronak chuckled as he walked up to Itachi giving him a smack on the back. Era, welcome. Pleasure to have you. Mira sat there keeping up her usual role as the wife of the Sitri head. Pleasure to meet you. We'll work well together. Kuroka gave Itachi a silly salute. Welcome, I am Tsubaki, Sona-sama's queen. Tsubaki gave a polite bow. Itachi gave a simple nod and mumbled, HN. Interesting fellow. Esteth looked to Itachi and tilted her head. What pieces did you take up? Pawns. Itachi answered back. 4 don't forget. Naruto chuckled, placing his hand on his hips. 4 must have a lot of potential for 4 pawns. Sona's eyes widened surprised along with Tsubaki and Kuroka. Yeah, Itachi, they're family, and you are too. You can tell them. No one else will know until you reveal it. Naruto gestured to them to which Itachi nodded his head. I am the half-brother to Euclid Lucifuge and Graphia Lucifuge. Itachi then summoned his 8 batwings to his side. This caused everyone's eyes to widen in surprise. We share the same father, but my mother was a half-human and devil. She, however, was a descendant of the original Lucifer. Itachi then summoned the katana to his side using his magic. The blade had a silver and black hilt decorated beautifully. The blade itself had elegant engravings near where the tang of the blade and the guard met. One side has the Lucifuge crest on it, while the other has the Sitri crest on it. Everyone could feel the holy power coming from his sword. I also wield the sacred gear, blacksmith blade. The ability to create any weapon or armor of my choice from my magic. Every time I create an armor or weapon, I can store it and summon for it later. Naruto smiled proudly at his new peerage member, especially since it was Itachi. Esteth looked to Itachi curiously and Naruto. Wow, with you two and Kuroka, you 3 so far make a pretty powerful team. She then smirked. A strong and powerful Nekomata with Senjutsu, our very own Naruto Sitri-sama who wields a king piece. Then we got a pawn worth 4 with a sacred gear that creates anything he wants. To top it all off, he's a descendant of an already dead Mao. A mighty fine choice in a peerage member, young master. Behemoth smiled brightly. Naruto turned to Itachi. Well, with that said, let's get some lunch. I'm starving. Naruto chuckled outwards, to which Kronak signaled to Behemoth who bowed and walked out. For the next few days, Itachi had begun to get used to his new life as a devil under Naruto. Of course, almost nothing changed between Naruto and Itachi. The only difference is their powers and abilities, which they both were quick to begin sparring trying to get stronger. Of course, when the news arrived in Graphia, Itachi and Graphia both quickly caught up together learning about one another. It seems Itachi's personality and likes haven't changed too much from his old life. At least, that's what Naruto noticed about Itachi. Of course, there's also his typical characteristic of loving Dango to no end. Though in the background, Serafall had Esteth keep a close eye on Naruto. Let's not forget the meeting that the 4 Maos had with Kronak and Mira. Then afterward with Sears X, Serafall, Falbium, and Ajuka, had a long talk with Naruto and Itachi being in his peerage was in the clear. For now, all information given to the old Mao faction is true. The current information was not as threatening as the old Mao faction was wanting. Backquote. Time skip 6 months later. Naruto was currently in formal attire. Well, at least having a bunch of money is a good thing. Naruto felt out his suit. I'm glad for you as well, Itachi. At least outsuits are always battle ready. Kuroka stood there with a kimono outfit that was brand new for her. Recently, due to her new transition from a Nekomata to a devil, Kuroka has grown much more lately due to her age, as well as he desires. Kuroka now adorned a black kimono, a yellow obi, a set of golden beads, and an ornately detailed headband. The kimono features a red interior and it is open at her shoulders, giving a view of her large breasts. Even Naruto had to agree that she was already way bigger than Rias and Akino. But that was only because she had a couple of years over the two. NYA, I think you both look well in the suits. Especially you, Naruto-sama. Kuroka purred out happily as her tail wagged back and forth happily. Itachi raised an eyebrow. Even here it seems we cannot escape the evil clutches of the females. Oni-sama, you all ready to meet up? Sona asked as she walked up to Naruto wearing a blue dress. Naruto smiled at his twin. You look lovely, Sona. The dress complements your hair and eyes perfectly. Naruto gave her a smile, enjoying seeing his little sister looking cute. Sona blushed as she nodded her head in thanks. Thanks, Oni-sama. You and Itachi look very nice in your outfits. Tsubaki nodded her head in agreement. You both look well. Tsubaki did her best to not look towards Itachi's gaze too much. Kuroka looked to Sona upset. What? No compliments to your truly, bro con. Sona glared at Kuroka. Yeah, no compliment to you. You look like a hooker in that outfit. Kuroka smirked as she said, oh my, how mean. But I wear a traditional obi similar to most Yukai. After all, it's a tradition we wear these kinds of outfits. After all, Tamino-sama, the leader of the Yukai faction, wears the same thing, so wouldn't you be disrespecting me and everyone else who wears these? Sona had no rebuttal as Naruto rubbed the back of his head chuckling. Sona, I love how you look out for me and our family image. But this one, Kuroka has yader on that one. Sona pouted for a moment, but relented. I'm sorry Kuroka, that was uncalled for. Kuroka giggled as she waved it off. Oh, no need to apologize. After all, I only dressed to impress Naruto-sama. Naruto decided to ignore that as he chuckled, beginning to walk towards the doors. Oni-sama, learn to just take apology and not make things worse. Sharon seemingly kicked her foot into Kuroka's shin. NYA, owie, Kuroka cried out. Itachi chuckled and turned to his sister whom was walking out the doors wearing a maid outfit, ready to go, Onisama. Itachi turned to Graphia who nodded her head. Graphia was allowed by Searsax to attend this important formal meeting as Itachi's guardian. Since Graphia and Itachi were allowed to bring back the Lucifuge clan, even though they were considered above the 72 pillars among the 6 houses of Lucifer. Little did they know that Itachi was also part Lucifer himself. This meeting was also to help introduce the new generation of devils that were upcoming. Usually, this was a formal meeting and it was merely to get the new generation to greet one another. It didn't take long as everyone got into the carriage rides to go to the ballroom of the Four Mouths Castle. Naruto and everyone made their way into the castle and began to settle in themselves. However, for Naruto and Sona it was different. The two along with their peerages went to a separate meeting room. Naruto and Sona entered the room that was separate from the others. Naruto in the room saw whom he recognized as Sarah Bale, his friend Rias Ramori, and none other than Sikbari Agaras. The big burly team that Naruto assumed to be Sarah came walking up to Naruto. Not too far was Rias as well. Hey Naruto, you finally get to meet my cousin. Sarah chuckled out and extended his hand out. Ahaha, you must be the Naruto that Rias never stops talking about. Sarah teased as Naruto accepted his handshake, and boy was his handshake strong. It's nice to meet you, and I hope they are all good things. Naruto chuckled back looking to Rias to which she could only blush as she pushed her 2 fingers together. Naruto saw Kuroka, Itachi, and Tsubaki to go meet up with Akano, Sharon, and a new boy who seemed to be in Rias' peerage. Just then a girl who seemed to be about Rias' age came walking up, greeting Sarah and Rias, and it's a pleasure to make your acquaintances Naruto and Sona Sitri. Naruto looked at the team. She was a young teen with long, pale greenish blonde hair, long slit pink eyes, and glasses that give off an impression of being cold rather than cool. She is wearing clothes that are very fitting for female nobles and have a flashy design to them, with accessories that have the Agaras seal on them which give off a posh vibe. Instead of a dress, she wears a miniskirt and high boots which are matched by her posh clothing. You must be Sikbari Agaras. A pleasure to meet you. Rias has mentioned you quite a bit. Glad to have finally met you. Sona smiled back shaking the girl's hand. Yeah, glad to meet you too Sikbaria. Naruto added to which he also went and shook her hand. Sarah smiled and smirked brightly. Man, I wonder what we're going to do today. Ya know, I was wondering, maybe we could propose a fight amongst ourselves. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Not that I mind it, but it's rather interesting that you'd want to fight. Naruto smiled at him to which Sarah could see a similar burning fire in Naruto's eyes. I heard it's more for us so the underworld knows who we are. Sona crossed her arms over her chest. We haven't been really out in the open. Not many people know who we look like. So, people at least putting faces to names would be good. Just then there was a knock on the doors as Graphia came walking through. She bowed to all of them. Agaras-sama, Bale-sama, Ramori-sama, and Sitri-sama, please follow me along with our peerage members. Everyone began to follow Graphia as she led them through the halls. No one said anything else until they walked through a portal. Once done, everyone found themselves in a very large stadium that was holding a lot of other devils. Naruto was quite surprised. He noticed a lot of clans there, and one group sticking out was the Phoenix clan. That was because Naruto could visibly see the look he was receiving from who seemed to be Riser Phoenix. The group was led to some chairs that seemingly sat in front of the mouths. However, there was a 6th seat, which Naruto knew, but many others wondered, except for Sona of course. Even Rias had no idea who Itachi was. Soon everyone sat down, and Rias, Sikbara, and Sarah looked intrigued as Itachi sat with them. There was a lot of chattering until Searsax stood up and Graphia walked off to the side. Searsax, with only having to stand, got everyone to stop talking. It was deadly silent. Searsax smiled looking at the next generation of devils. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for you all being here on this wonderful day. Today is a day to introduce our brand new generations of devils. Sarah, why don't you start? Searsax then sat back down with the other mouths, though interestingly, everyone noticed that Graphia was there next to him. Sarah stood up and smirked as a magic circle appeared in front of him. It was a microphone for him to speak through. Hello ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sarah Bale, the next heir of the Bale clan, ranked great king. My dream is to become the strongest devil ever, and to prove that I can be on the top even without demonic power. Sarah flexed his muscles and then relaxed them as he sat back down. Naruto and Sona were surprised to learn about this. Of course, it was interesting. Naruto wanted to know how this guy became this strong without magical power. Next was Sikbari who stood up, and this didn't go unnoticed by Naruto who heard some of the boys cheering out to her. Hello, my name is Sikbari Agaras, heiress of the Agaras clan. My dream is to become a strong leader for me and my family. Sikbari then sat down next. Next up was Rias as she stood up, and Naruto heard plenty of boys calling out to her. My name is Rias Ramori, the heiress of the Ramori clan, ranked duke. My dream one day is to become the head of the Ramori clan and well-respected and #1 rating game champion. As well as marry the man of my dreams. Rias shouted in her mind knowing no one would hear her. Naruto was next as he stood up and he definitely heard girls cheering out to him. To which Sona glared causing the girls to quiet down quickly. Once they did Sona smiled, but frowned when she saw Kuroka in the stand mouthing to her, broke on. My name is Naruto Sitri, heir to the Sitri house, ranked prince. My dream is to bring world peace and end all conflict. This gained many laughs, chuckles, and even some people looking at him confused as if he was crazy. This obviously made Kronak, Mira, Behemoth, Estef, Mizor, Seraphal, and Sona very proud of Naruto for saying that. I plan on being a good leader for the Sitri house and run it alongside my sister. With that, Naruto sat down and it was signaled for Sona to go next. Once Sona stood up, Naruto heard some calls from other guys to Sona. Though he looked up at them to get them to quiet down. Just as Sona did for him, my name is Sona Sitri, the Naruto of the heir of the Sitri house. I plan on running my household alongside Naruto Nisama and supporting him in the Sitri house. Sona closed her eyes for a moment and placed her hand over her heart. She then opened them with a determined look in her eyes. I also dream of opening a school for rating games. So, all who wish to learn about or participate have the opportunity to do so. The crowd was quiet after Sona said her piece. She then sat down, but there was a pause before everyone continued. Itachi went to stand up and tell, a rating games for everyone to go to. A school for all. How foolish. Silly little girl. Man, even her brother has a stupid dream, but hers. That takes the cake. World peace. Please. No way all school for rating games would ever work. Naruto and Sona both sat there as everyone began to ridicule or mock them. Seraphal was getting angry and was about to burst, but Estef stopped her. Seraphal had to be impartial, even if they were her younger siblings. Just then an explosion of magical power sent a shockwave against all. Naruto gnashed his teeth together as he slowly stood up. A dark black icy aura surrounded him. His magic power spread throughout the arena as he glared at the people up in the stands. Naruto's hair covered his face until he looked up. His eyes were not glowing a dark bluish glow. There was bright green with a slit in the middle. Naruto held up his fist as black ice began to form around him, which then shot up across the stadium once again. You can mock me all you want. But don't you dare ever look down on my Naruto's dream. Naruto was snapped out of his as he turned to his right to see Sona standing up. Her own explosion of demonic energy began to create ice of her own. Like my Onisama said, don't you dare look down on any of our dreams. At least we have the ones that we want to accomplish. Unlike you who sit there and judge not doing anything with your own lives. Rias stood up with her own aura of destruction. They're my friends. Don't you ever dare mock them in my presence ever again. Rias's hair flared up in the air flowing in the direction of her own destruction power. Sarah laughed as he placed his hands on his hips and he smirked. Ahaha. Well said, everyone. I guess I'll join in on the fun. Sarah summoned his Chuki state as a light white hue glow appeared all around him. This greatly impressed Kuroka and Sharon. Seafarer stood up with her hands to her side. A pillar of demonic energy appeared around her. Rias is my friend. Friend of hers is a friend of mine, so don't mock them. Itachi, now being noticed by everyone, stood up with his Sharingan in full view for everyone. I am Itachi Lucifuge, the next heir to the Lucifuge clan in Naruto Sama's pawn. I shall not let you all show blatant disrespect to him. Itachi's own demonic power soared, reaching the same levels as Naruto, surprising everyone. Behemoth gently scratched his barren crest. I guess Itachi's older brother, the brat, actually trained him pretty well. The crowd grew deadly quiet as their parents looked down at their kids with pride. All but a certain Bale father, Rebel, a young girl who is a beautiful young girl with dark blue eyes. She has long blonde hair tied into twin tails with large, drill-like curls and blue ribbons keeping them in place. The front of her hair has several bangs hanging over her forehead, with a V-shaped fringe hanging over the bridge of her nose. Riser frowned, looking at Naruto. Meanwhile, Rebel looked at Naruto with great interest. Rebel does not know a lot about Naruto, but she has heard a great deal about him. Only because her older brother simply badmouths him all the time, stating that he was trying to steal Rias away, tried to turn her against him, and whatever stupid excuse she tried to come up with. Yet, she was seeing him here with her very own eyes, being caring towards his younger sister. It was clear that Rias and Naruto were actually quite good friends. Rebel knowing her older brother can be a bit much, but it was clear he overly exaggerated what type of person Naruto was. To state such claims in front of other devils without any care for their own image. It was clear he was being serious, and serious in defending his twin sister's goals as well. Not too far away from Rebel Phoenix, another girl sat in the stands with interest in Naruto. She is a beautiful girl with almond eyes with long blonde hair with blue hair tips as she has a voluptuous body and large breasts, whose proportions are similar to Rias's. She wears a noble-like dress while holding an elegant folding fan. She is the same age as Rias, so that's Naruto Sitri, quite an interesting devil, it seems. Diodora, her cousin, simply sat there without much care in the world. It was clear he was in his own little one. Graphia had to settle everyone down as she flared her own magical aura. Naruto took that K to calm down, along with everyone else. Naruto simply glared at the other devils. He simply sat back down along with the others. It was clear to everyone that this new generation of devils would be interesting. The old geezers who were merely advisors to the four now talked amongst themselves. Some even began to give the five of them the title, the worst generation. To which they were quickly shut up by Seraphol and Sirzax finally losing their own composure. Graphia sighed and said, now dear, don't destroy them on accident. Graphia laid a hand on Sirzax's shoulder helping him calm down. Death tossed Seraphol 2 body pillows of Sona and Naruto. Everyone in the stands began to sweat drop looking at Seraphol as she went complete Brokan and Siscon mode. At least it was better than her sparkling everywhere. Though for Naruto and Sona, they might say otherwise. Backquote, 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 backquote. Half an hour of a speech later. Once Sirzax was able to get things back in line, everyone got to return to the room for the time being. Apparently, there was going to be a ball thrown in honor of the newest devils. Of course, to Sona's chagrin, on their way out, Rias, Sona, Kuroka, Itachi, and everyone else heard about everyone beginning to badmouth Naruto, causing him to blame for the commotion he caused, and now making the rest of everyone else look back. They already began to give him the name, the unfit Sitri. Grr, Sona threw a snowball at the wall causing no damage at all. All those devils in the other clans are such pricks and assholes. Sona began to use rather vulgar language which surprised Rias. Naruto only knew of this if something really got under Sona's skin. It takes a lot to do that unless you begin to badmouth her brother or Seraphol. Naruto placed a hand on Sona's head and pulled her into a hug. Yoshi Sona, I'm happy you're upset for me, but it's just a mere name. Naruto looked down at her with a smile on his face. I'm lucky to have such a caring, supportive, and protective younger sister. I am definitely the luckiest brother in the world. Sona blushed as she looked down. Thanks Onisama, you are one of the few people I respect. I hate it when people look down on you. Don't forget about yourself too Sona, we don't like it when they look down on you too. Rias placed a hand on her hip. I think this just brought us all a lot closer. Sarahward chuckled happily. Ha. I like your thinking, Koos. I know how about a moniker we could call ourselves. Sarahward took the thinker pose while sitting on the back of a chair that leaned up against a table. Sikaria sighed as she smiled towards the others. Well, if we're going to do that, it needs to be a good one. Sikaria didn't like it, but she figured she might as well make the most of it. Itachi smiled looking towards everyone. It felt like he was almost back in the Anbu. When you're in those few rare moments to have a real bonding time as a team. Itachi then said, how about the Shuden Shiko's die, Jituan Sikao Shi die, meaning groupthink generation. Groupthink, as in when people's desires to maintain group loyalty becomes more important than making the best choices. Sona asked curiously, to which Itachi nodded his head in agreement. Akino giggled at the moniker. Era, how interesting. It seems something new is boiling in the underworld. Sarahward looked to Naruto and Itachi. So, you're the infamous Lucifuge we've been hearing about. What is it still like over in the old Mao faction? Itachi thought for a moment and responded with, the training I received was a welcoming and helpful boon for myself. However, the rules and regulations were quite strict. I personally don't agree with their ways. Well, we're glad to have you aboard. Sarahward smirked, wondering how strong Itachi was now. Now I'm amped up. Naruto, Itachi, we should fight. Sikaria sighed at Sarahward's antics. He never changes. I think we should focus on other matters. We have a party to attend to soon. Though, Sarahward does make a point. He is rumored to be the strongest of our generation. Rias placed a finger on her lip. Sona wanted to believe that her big brother was stronger. Well, I think Onisama might just be a bit stronger than Sarahward. Itachi smiled and chuckled looking towards Sona. It was clear it was highly unlike her to be like this. Though, when it came to Naruto, she was always gung-ho about him. Well, maybe it's something we could always look into at another time. Just then the doors opened, and someone spoke from it. Actually, the doors opened with Sirzax standing there. I think it would be an excellent idea. It'd be a nice show for everyone to watch. Sarahward smirked looking to Sirzax. I think it is a fantastic idea. What do you say, Naruto? Naruto closed his eye left eye while looking at Sarahward. Naruto didn't originally intend to fight, but then again not every day you can just fight someone. Sure, why not, it couldn't hurt. Alright, Sarahward shouted as he felt his blood begin to pump throughout his body. He was so ready to fight now. Backquote, 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 backquote. With Sirzax and everyone else. Everyone but Sarahward and Naruto made their way to the ballroom, to which everyone was then presumably teleported back to the stadium. Many look around confused, but everyone sees Sarahward, Bale, and Naruto standing across from one another. Sirzax stood up with a magical microphone in front of him. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very interesting event for you all. Sarahward and Naruto have both agreed to a mock battle. It's to figure out which of them is the strongest of this new generation. Lord Bale sat in his seat next to his wife, Misla, with an unwavering look on his face. Lady Bale looked onwards at her son hoping he would win. Kronak, who so happened to be next to Lord Bale, chuckles. Hey, look at that. I've wondered too just how well Naruto would stand up to Sarahward. Ahaha, may the best fighter win, right? Of course, I'm sure my Naruto will come out top. Mira sighed, placing a hand on her forehead. Oh boy, just what have our sons gotten themselves into? Misla giggled. That's so like Sarahward. I've heard him hearing a lot about Naruto from Rias. Rias has even said that she wondered who was stronger. I see. Even then so, I'm sure they will both do well. Mira answered back with a relaxed smile on her face. Of course, I'm sure Sarahward will put up a good fight. In the end, though I won't go there. Misla looked to Mira raising an eyebrow. Mira, my dear old friend, I'm sure you didn't just say who was going to win, did you? Misla, her demonic aura appears around her. Mira fought back with her own chilly aura. You heard me, old friend, but my Naruto is winning. Itachi watched as the two mothers of both fights fought back and forth. Then he laughed when Kronak said, Mira gets mad when me and Zeoticus gamble, but when she does it, nobody bats an eye. Same here, Kronak. Same here. Zeoticus sighed as he looked to Lord Bale, who sat there with an unimpressed look on his face. What was that dear? Then Alana asked as her demonic aura appeared around her. Zeoticus flinched as he looked at his wife, but my very intelligent and smart wife always makes the best decisions for me. Good boy. Then Alana lowered her demonic power, turning her gaze back to the fight. Geez, nothing ever changes between Okawa-sama and Otu-sama. Sona sighed as she turned her attention to Naruto's and Saroward's fight. Backquote. With Naruto and Saroward. Naruto stood across from Saroward with a smirk on his face and the same with Saroward. Sirzex says, I'll have Grathia referee this match. Grathia stands up and gets onto the microphone. I shall referee this match. For the rules, there's no killing allowed. Loss of limbs can be fixed with the next tears, so battle to your heart's content. Stay safe, and you may begin on my count from 3 to 1. You may begin in 3, 2, 1, Hajime. Naruto dashed towards Saroward, which Saroward did in return. They both threw strong punches with shockwaves emitting from their fists. Naruto quickly ducked under a left hook from Saroward, and Naruto did a backflip to try to kick him in the chin. Saroward quickly backed away and went to sweep Naruto from his feet. Naruto spun near the ground in the air as Saroward's foot went under him. Naruto quickly landed on one foot and spun using the momentum to bring around a roundhouse kick. Saroward brought his right arm up to block it. There was a loud smack. Saroward used his free hand to grab Naruto's foot. He lifted Naruto up into the air and then swung downwards towards the ground. Naruto quickly wrapped his body around Saroward, bringing his free foot around his other arm. Naruto was still slammed into the ground on his back, but he held on. Naruto quickly brought his arms up and grabbed Saroward's big muscular arms. Naruto raised his upper body up and slammed his forehead into Saroward's, causing him to stumble back and let go of Naruto. Naruto landed on his feet, dashed towards Saroward, and punched him square in the chest. However, Saroward did not move as he smirked. Not bad at all, Naruto, but this is where you lose. Saroward lifted up his head as a light white hue of energy appeared around him. Chuki. Naruto mumbled as Saroward went to punch him, but Naruto quickly dodged away. However, Saroward quickly brought his other hand up and punched Naruto square in the chest. The punch made a sickening crack. Naruto was sent careening backward as he tumbled through the ground. Until he backflipped back onto his feet. Naruto fell on one knee, feeling that at least a few of his ribs were cracked. Man, I heard you had Chuki mastered, but I didn't think it was true. I've been trying to learn it too. Naruto took a few moments to catch his breath. Naruto summoned up his own spiritual fighting aura, though his was vastly weaker than Saroward's. Saroward chuckled as he placed his hand on his hips. Ahaha. Wonderful. Even if you are trying to expand your horizons further than just magic. I'm impressed. Not many other devils learn to fight with their hands. If you want that to work, you really need to dig deep and understand just who you are. Naruto knew his wasn't as strong, nor mastered like Saroward's was. Naruto quickly took a step backward, but not before letting ice cover the ground. Everyone watched as black ice raced towards Saroward. Saroward watched as the ice covered his foot and Naruto gained some distance. Before the ice could spread further, he flexed his Chuki aura, which began to crack the ice. Though, it did not shatter. Impressive ice magic. Sarafal-sama's use of ice magic seems to have been added to your own. Saroward readied himself. I hope you're ready for round 2, because now, it's time to go all out. Naruto took a moment to breathe as Saroward seemingly powered up again. His aura this time was brighter, stronger, and now he was faster. Before Naruto could even react, Saroward was right in front of him. Naruto felt pain in his stomach as Saroward's fist was already in his gut. Naruto was sent careening away, flying until the momentum caused him to slap the ground. Until he bounced back up and hit the ground once again until he slid onto his feet. Naruto's eyes were wide in pain as he let a gasp for air. Come on. Don't give out on me now. Saroward was already above Naruto, raising his fist into the air. Naruto quickly dodged out of the way as Saroward slammed his fist into the ground. Damn, his power and speed increased at least 3 times his original strength. This guy is crazy. His physical strength way outmatches mine. Naruto quickly had to dodge once again, trying to gain more distance. Naruto, it's time. It's time that the world learned who you are. Reveal yourself. Let me be known. Naruto was hesitant to do so as he heard Ddraig call out to him. But, if I do it'll do what? Shock the world. Paint a larger target on your back. Where's that bravado before when you defend your sister? Naruto gnashed his teeth together. You're right. Naruto lowered his head as he stopped moving his body. His hair covered his and the rest of his face. I need to get stronger, and to accept this power that I was given. I want to be able to bring peace to this world. I need to come to terms with the peace of my old world. It won't be the same as before. I'll protect everyone I care about. Saroward watched as Naruto stopped and stood in one place. Why is he standing there? Oh well, doesn't matter. It's time for lights out. Saroward brought his fist up and brought it upon Naruto. Just then Saroward saw Naruto quickly raise his head as he saw 2 glowing green eyes. Saroward followed through with his punch until it was stopped. Boost. Naruto was exploding with green power with a draconic aura. Naruto had a metal-like scale mail gauntlet on his hand. What is? Naruto smacked Saroward's fist away with his free hand and reared back his right hand that wielded the sacred gear in his hand. Naruto then threw his fist as it collided with Saroward's face, sending him flying across the ground. Saroward skidded across the ground similar to Naruto until he landed on his feet. He slid on the ground, digging his heels in. Saroward took a moment to catch his breath while staring at Naruto. Naruto smirked as he held the gauntlet up. You wanted everything I had. I'll give it to you. Boost. Naruto felt more power swell up and multiply as he took off towards Saroward. Saroward smiled with excitement and glee. I don't know how, but this makes me even want to push harder. I don't care anymore. Let's just see how strong we are. Naruto. Their 2 fists collided with one another and somehow, Naruto saw Saroward, already at his full power, somehow raised his strength just to rival the 2 boosts he had now. Don't worry, I'll return that power in return. Sarao RG. Naruto screamed out as he cocked his fist back and began to push it forward with their fists getting ready to clash once again. Saroward was a completely different devil than any other. The very same thing could be easily said for Naruto as well. Everyone in the stand stood up in shock, even though Ajuka, Sirzex, Serafal, Kronak, and Mira were informed. This sight to have seen is the first time in all supernatural history. A full-blooded devil was born with a sacred gear. To add more, he had a Longinus level sacred gear, a sacred gear that could raise Naruto's power well beyond that of gods. Backquote. With Ophis. Ophis smiled as she watched from afar with glee and excitement. She hid her presence well. No one could detect her. How interesting. Sirzex, how dare you hide such 2 lovely treasures from me? Ophis zoomed in on the fight for herself to watch. I wonder what the one of above all wanted from him. The one who slayed his entire clan in one night, and the human soul within a devil's body. I just can't wait to see how far you will go, and aid me with my quest to kill him. Ophis moved her eyes in a certain direction without moving her head toward the source. The being that stood behind Ophis took a step and smirked. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Ophis. Ophis narrowed her eyes, but then smiled. Otu-sama, it's been a few millennia, hasn't it? The being that was black from head to toe and a big white grin on his face. Hee. Indeed it has been. Ophis, or should I say Ophis-chan. Backquote. Back with Naruto and Saroward. Naruto and Saraward already landed quite a few shots at one another. Naruto's cheeks were swollen with his left eye swollen shut. Saraward on the other hand had a bruised cheek and his left eye swollen shut. Naruto's gauntlet on his hand shouted, "Boost! Explosion! That's all your body can handle for now. Honestly, training with me for a mere few months and you've achieved this much. It's impressive." Naruto smirked looking towards Saraward. "Well, you ready to end this?" Saraward smirked raising his fists up once again. "You bet I am. Let's end this. One final blow. Whether we miss or hit, let the best devil win." Saraward charged towards Naruto unleashing the rest of his Tsuki aura around him. Naruto took off from his spot with his arms raised up ready to finish Saraward off. Time began to almost slow for the two as Saraward's fists began to near Naruto's head. Until he felt his Tsuki aura leave him, which caused him to waver just a bit throwing his fist off course. Naruto felt the power within him drain once Ddraig shouted, "Expired." Naruto felt all of Ddraig's power leave him feeling immensely fatigued. Naruto felt his own punch waver, but he quickly brought it back with one last push. I won't let it end here." Naruto redirected his fist slamming it into Saraward's face and knocking him to the ground. Naruto fell to his hands and knees breathing heavily. The sacred gear took quite a toll on his body. If you were a human your body surely would have already been destroyed. But you've put up a good fight. Naruto looked up tiredly as Saraward slowly picked himself up off the ground. Naruto looked at Saraward amazed. I can't. Give up yet." Saraward stood back up quite wobbly. Naruto saw blood running down the side of his face. Naruto stood back up placing a hand over his chest. "Yep, definitely cracked bone back there." Naruto prepared himself as the ice began to form around his hands. "Saraward, I feel like our physical strengths are still far apart. Even besides me needing to use my sacred gear, you still surpass me with that." Saraward smirked. "It doesn't matter. That power is still your strength, no matter how you look at it." Now, Saraward's head pointed downwards as his hair covered his eyes. He then took a deep breath and flexed his muscles again as his Tsuki aura flared to life. "Let's end this." Saraward lifted his head as his eyes began to glow a brown color. "I'm not giving up until I'm completely IMMOBOLIZED." Saraward charged at Naruto. Naruto couldn't believe this. This guy is insane, but I have to match him. Otherwise, I lose, but I also need to match his own determination to win. You may be stronger than I am, but I'll use everything I got to win. Naruto stuck his hand up as a sensation went down Itachi's spine from the seam. Naruto held a black tornado of snow and ice beginning to spin in Naruto's hand. Celsius cross for Sendon. Naruto charged forward with Naruto screaming loudly with his own battle cry as Saraward did the same. Naruto extended his right fist forward and Saraward with his Tsuki infused punch extended towards Naruto. The two young devils' attack clashed as a massive explosion took over the entire arena causing even the barrier to break. The barrier was being held up by Sibling himself. Even he was impressed by their display of power. Soon the dust and debris were cleared away, and everyone looked in shock. Naruto stood there with his clothing of his top torso was blown off. Saraward was practically halfway across the other side of the arena from Naruto. The entirety of the ground was covered in black ice, and everyone looked up to see snow beginning to fall. Graphia called out, "Shosha, Naruto Sitri." Quickly, the two young devil heirs were whisked away to the medical ward. Backquote, 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 backquote. Asterisk in the medical ward. Naruto let out a raspberry as he lay there wrapped up in bandages. That was quite the battle, Naruto-sama. Very impressive. Graphia noted, not mentioning anything about Naruto's use of sacred gear. "Thanks, Graphia. It was thanks to Behemoth Sensei and Estet Sensei. He's helped me a lot in my physical strength, Estet Sensei with my magical. I even learned some tricks and moves from Mizor Sensei." Naruto lay there with Graphia moving her hands over Naruto's chest healing his cracked ribs. Before Naruto knew it, everyone came to congratulate him, Oni-sama. "Congratulations on winning." Sona smiled happily at her big brother. Naruto chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. "No need to praise me so much." Naruto had some embarrassment on his face. Though Naruto could see that Sona was upset, he could tell she felt inferior to him. Despite the fact her training is much more with Mizor and Estet, and more magical than physical. Not to add more salt to the injury, he holds a king piece and now has a sacred gear. Rias smiled happily. "Naruto, that was amazing. How did you do all that? Was that a sacred gear too?" Rias has a really interesting look on her face. Itachi stayed silent meanwhile Akino, Sharon, and Kuroka began to bombard him with questions. "Don't crowd Oni-sama," Sona shouted out as she pushed the three away from Naruto. Tsubaki and Kiba stayed silent in the background letting everyone else handle the situation. "Sis-con," Kuroka quickly added, to which Sona looked at her with daggers in her eyes. Just then Sharon gave Kuroka a swift kick in the rear launching the Nekomata into the wall. "Give it a rest, Oni-sama." "How cruel, Sharon. YNYA," Kuroka cried as she slowly slid down the wall and then onto the floor. Naruto slowly sat up after Graphia finished healing the rest of his wounds. Just then a beautiful girl with blonde hair tied in a ponytail and green eyes came walking in. While holding up a banged up Saraward which Graphia proceeded to then heal him. "Greetings Naruto-sama. I didn't introduce myself earlier. I am Saraward-sama's queen, Kuisha Abaddon." "No sweat it, and it's nice to meet you too. Saraward, glad to see you already on your feet." Naruto chuckled as Saraward smirked as he then got off of Kuisha who was holding him up. "Yeah, that was an amazing fight. Who knows you had that ability in your back pocket. Not only that, but the magical attack was nothing like I've ever seen." Saraward smirked looking at Naruto. "I'll grow stronger so next time I'll be able to take that attack 100 times over and be fine." Kuisha frowned. "Saraward-sama, you should do well to try to avoid that attack. Not only did it grind against your body, it also causes cold burns, as well as damage to your organs." She looked at her king rather upset and annoyed. "Not to mention the contortion to your skin. Look at that mark." Thankfully the spiral mark began to untwist thanks to Graphia. "It's okay Kuisha. Graphia is fixing it. I'll be fine in no time." Saraward smirked as he stuck his hand out to Naruto. "Congratulations Naruto. You're officially the strongest devil of the worst generation." Naruto shook Saraward's hand back and nodded his head. "Hey, you made me work for it though, so don't forget that." The worst generation. A rather interesting nickname. Everyone turned their heads as Sirzex came walking in with Graphia following not too far behind him. "A rather interesting group of young devils. The fact you've mastered Tsuki, and you're trying to learn it. I must say, I must give my praises to your teachers." Graphia praised with a nod of pride on her face. It seems her rival as strongest queen has defiantly been training Naruto well. "Well, I'll say, it was a splendid battle between you two. We expect greatness from you all. This generation will be one of the most interesting if I must add." Sirzex placed a hand on his chin looking at everyone. Sirzex then places his hands on his hips. "With that said, I'm sure there is a current giant dragon in the room. Please if everyone but Naruto's peerage and family please remain here." Rias grew worried looking at Naruto and nodded her head. Rias and Saraward along with their peerage quickly left under the Mao's order. Sirzex waited as Ajuka, Serafal, Falbium, Kronak, and Mura came walking into the room. Eventually, Behemoth, Estef, Mizor, and even Graphia remained in the room. Before anything started Kronak smiled. "My boy, I'm so proud of you. The strongest devil amongst the newest generation." Kronak walked over pulling Naruto into a side hug cheering away. "Take that you weak drinking dipshit Zeoticus." Kronak began to dance off to the side. Just then Mira came over to Naruto and gently patted Naruto's head. "I'm proud of you too Naruto. Now give me one moment." Mira then turned towards her idiot of a husband who was currently dancing like a fool. Mira held her hand out as the Sitri clan crest appeared in her hand, and a frying pan appeared. The frying pan even had Kronak's face etched into it. "Dear." "Yes, home, wham." Kronak froze as Mira slammed her frying pan into his face. Mira then dismissed her weapon of choice as Kronak fell to the floor. Now Samazu may begin. Ajuka took a step forward and began to explain things to Naruto. Mainly the fact that they knew he had the sacred gear as well as 9 other hidden abilities. Unknown to them what they were, Naruto in a way had to come clean. Even then, Naruto doesn't fully understand what is going on either. He was truly just as clueless as everyone else was, besides the fact he had been training his sacred gear in secrecy. Once everything was explained, even Naruto looked to them confused. Itachi had nothing to say. He had nothing to really input because this was all crazy. Sona placed a finger on her cheek. This makes no sense. I don't understand any of this. Onisama is my twin. Even if we're fraternal twins, we should still practically have the same DNA structures. In most cases that would be the answer and we wouldn't be here. Ajuka commented as he pointed to the screen. We ran multiple tests and this was our result. It seems Naruto is just as clueless as we are. Nothing we can do, but only wonder. Sears placed a hand on his chin. So these 9 separate abilities, are they just mutations or were they given to me? Naruto asked confused, to which Ajuka looked to Naruto as if he was right and wrong at the same time. Like I explained, you do, but they're from 9 different parents, and I don't even understand it. Ajuka looked to the screen shrugging his shoulders. There's no way this is possible, even for God to do. Seraphal had a worried look on her face the entire time. Do you think someone even above God could have done this? It is possible, but then again why would they interfere or even try something like this? Mira looked at Naruto worriedly. I feel like my Naruto is being targeted for no reason. Naruto smiled as Mira placed a hand on his shoulder rather worriedly. I'll be fine, Ka-chan. Naruto dropped the formalities he usually uses to ease his mother's worry. I got Itachi and Kuroka so far, and they're pretty strong. Imagine how far we'll get later on, then Sona too. She'll get stronger too. Sona smiled at that. For Sona, it's been rather overwhelming as of late. It's been a lot of issues whether it was good or bad for her twin brother. Sona with her own level strength was currently just where she could be at. She almost felt like she was inferior to Naruto. Naruto could see that look in her eye and even Itachi could see it too. Naruto smiled as he said, Sona, come here. As asked Sona did, so to which Naruto placed a hand on the top of his sister's head. No matter what happens, how strong you become, how smart, what you decide to do with your life, I will always love you, no matter what. So don't ever feel like you're never enough. You do things differently than I do. Even if we are twins, you're a heck of a lot smarter than I am. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start beating me in our chess matches soon. Sona smiled and nodded her head with appreciation from her brother. His world almost cleared up all her hesitation and uncertainties in one single talk. Thank you, Onisama. You really are the best Onisama ever. Naruto chuckled as he gave her a hug, patting her head. You're the best Naruto and Oni-chan could ever ask for. Kuroka, not wanting to ruin this situation, stood there next to Itachi and Tsubaki silently, deciding that this wouldn't be the best time to tease Sona, but she had to admit, it is fun to do so. Mainly it was only ever said to get a ruse out of her. Plus she has some of the most adorable reactions to it. Kronak smiled looking at his 2 youngest children. You'll both grow up to be fine leaders of his household. I expect nothing less from you two but greatness. Mira giggled as she said, remember kids, if we can't get the things to go our way, we'll learn to Sitri all of our problems all away. Seraphal, Sona, and Naruto replied by causing the room to burst out into fits of laughter. It was a great way to break the tension of the current sacred gear that Naruto possessed. Naruto smiled as he raised his hand, summoning Ddraig to his arm as the gauntlet. Well, Ddraig, you got any clues on what's going on? Everyone watched intently as the green gem began to glow. Hello fellow devils, it is a pleasure to meet you all. Of course, this situation Naruto so happens to be in is a rather particular one. If you're wondering if I have answers, I don't have the slightest clue of how I ended up in Naruto. So, even the Red Dragon Emperor doesn't even know himself. Ajuka placed his hand on his chin. Nonetheless, I think we've thought long enough about this. There isn't much we can do if Naruto nor even Ddraig know themselves. Sears relented, placing his hand on his hips. For now, continue to monitor yourself, Naruto, for any new developments. As for your gifted power, there's little I can do to change this. Grow strong, I'm sure you will. Sears smiled and nodded his head. For now, I think that's all we can do. Why don't we let the family stay? With that said, Sears, Ajuka, and Falbium all left the room, leaving the Sitri family there. That included Behemoth and Estef. Naruto wondered if his family had any questions for him. He felt as if there were a lot of things he didn't tell them. Of course, how much could he tell? Especially when it was the life of his previous self. Itachi and Naruto had a conversation about this before. They both came to the same conclusion. Naruto watched as Mira and Kronak took the front of the room along with Seraphal. Mira looked at her son with worry, but Sona stood by Naruto's side rather confused. Is there something the matter? Chu-san, Okawa-chan, Oni-chan. Yeah, you're all looking at Oni-sama rather strangely. Sona added that the grown-ups all understood Sona's plight. Mira smiled at the two and for a moment she bit her lip. Naruto and Sona have never seen their mother hesitate before. This seemed like this was going to be a rather sensitive topic to talk about. Sona dear, I need to ask you, how well do you think you know Naruto? Itachi didn't react, but he was surprised, but then again he wasn't at the same time. It was clear that everyone here had years of experience and could tell if some things were off. Sona quirked an eyebrow. Okawa-san, excuse me for my rather bluntness, but what kind of question is that? Just think about it, Sona. Can you tell us you know everything about Naruto? Kronak asked with sincerity, to which Sona looked to them rather nervous now. Sona began to rub the back of her neck. Well, aside from things that I know Onisama keeps to himself, which I would think he is privy to keep to himself until necessary, I know Onisama is much more into training than I was. Showed great interest in Tuki after Kuroka joined his peerage. He loves ramen a lot. He's caring and loving toward his family and peerage. He's always willing to give the maids and butlers a hand in chores or anything they do. He's quite defensive about his family even if he doesn't show it all the time. He can act rather immature and funny at times and likes to come up with strange nicknames for people. Well, I must admit that is even true. Kronak laughed along with Mira giggling, to which Sona smiled quite proudly. Sona placed her hand over her chest. I would like to think I know Onisama pretty well. Seraphal giggled agreeing with Sona, but Kronak had to really ask the questions though. Kronak let the mood settle for a bit as he looked at Naruto seriously. He had a more concerned look on his face and asked, Naruto, I understand you're growing up and are becoming your own man. But there are some concerns that your Okawa-san and I have about you. Mira nodded her head in agreement. Just so you know, we just want to know so we can be there for you. That way we can better understand you. Naruto looked at his parents with a surprised look on his face. Don't get him wrong, he's glad that they care deeply for him. But it's difficult since Itachi and Naruto both understood it was important to keep their past lives out of this. Just then Ddraig spoke up within Naruto's head and said, just so you know, because of your past life, it has greatly affected your new life here. This is a result of which is why you are here in this situation now. Naruto even had to admit that Ddraig was right in a sense. I don't know if that's right, it's still a different life. Well, with all the things that I've learned about our world, especially with the human world. Naruto looked at his family with a sincere look in his eyes. I've learned a lot, and have a lot to appreciate for what the humans introduced. How that helped improve our lives, and how the 4 miles helped bring a new way for our livelihood. Sona saw where Naruto was coming from. If anything, us devils like to greatly exaggerate ourselves, but I think it's fine nonetheless. But I must agree with Onisama, there have been wars and loss and deaths. Onisama has talked to me about this before. Naruto turned to Behemoth. You only solidified my feelings even more, Behemoth-sensei. Behemoth looked to Naruto surprised. What? Really, young master? Naruto nodded his head. You told me that all living creatures come in all shapes and sizes. Regardless of the species, we were all created to fulfill a certain goal. Naruto smiled, turning his head to his parents. I feel like my goal is to help bring world peace. With all the wars we've all seen, the atrocities, the only way we could ever make a stop is for everyone to understand one another. Sensei, you even said, people fear what they do not understand. Kronak and Mira looked to Naruto rather satisfied with that answer. Above all else, it seems like they raised him well. Mira smiled with a tear that ran down her cheek. I'm just glad that everything is okay. I was afraid we let you grow up too quick. Mira wiped some tears running down her cheeks. It only felt like yesterday I held you two in my arms for the first time. Same here. I was even worried I let you start training with Behemoth and too soon. Seraphol placed a hand over her heart. Itachi was glad that Naruto had ways to back himself up. Besides, this is a new start for them. It seemed Naruto also had a good thing going for him and his family. I vow to protect that for Naruto. He sacrificed a lot on my own behalf. I feel things could have ended differently if I was just truthful to the both of them in the beginning. Tsubaki, who was silent, seemed to pick up on Itachi staring intently. Not at anyone, just himself thinking. Mira let a sigh of relief out. Meanwhile, Kronak nodded his head. He was happy with that. I'm glad that we didn't mess up. But it's just hard to see your child grow up a bit too fast. I hope you understand. Naruto chuckled, scratching the back of his head. Yeah, I get it, but I guess realizing I'm going to be a head of the clan. It was something I wanted to make sure I took seriously. Everyone smiled quite warmly about Naruto's response. They were happy and satisfied. Of course, they were completely oblivious to who Naruto and Itachi really were. Kronak, Seraphol, Mira, and the other mouths could only guess what was going on. For that, only the future could ever tell what that would be. Backquote, 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 backquote. Week later with Itachi old mouth action. Itachi arrived back at his old home after slipping away from the Sitri compound, which was already known by Naruto and everyone involved in this side quest. Itachi came forward and knelt in front of his elder brother. There was also a guest next to him as well. Welcome back, Ododo. Is there anything of interesting news as of lately? Euclid smiled, welcoming his younger brother back home. I'm sure you've already heard some news. Naruto Sitri was seemingly born with a sacred gear. It is confirmed that he is the wielder of the booster gear, none other than the Red Dragon Emperor, as well as his victory over Sero of Baal. Itachi lifted his head while still kneeling. Just then a man came walking out of the shade, to which Itachi sensed but stayed silent. Yes, we have, assuming you have nothing else to report. Thank you, Itachi. Euclid smiled devilishly. It was the fact that Itachi was doing a great job as an internal spy. Of course, there was a question that he could be counter-spying. Again, Euclid raised Itachi practically by himself after his mother was killed. It was sad truly, but sometimes some sacrifices must be made. A man stood there as he smiled down at Itachi. Very good, you keep serving the Lucifer clan well, even if you were part of our clan too, Itachi. The man who came walking out had a smirk on his face. He had short silver spy hair. He had a bang of blue hair that came down to the left side of his face, with bands that fell in front of his eyes. He wore a dark blue, black suit that was covered with an armor-like top that had 3 spikes that came down both shoulders, as well as a royal blue cape that came down his back. His outfit eerily was similar to Sirich's outfit, but blue where the red was. Itachi lowered his head once again. Of course, Razaven Lucifer Sama. Razaven smirked with a wicked smile that went from ear to ear. The downfall of the new Mao faction will fall. We will bring back the new age of the devils. I just now need to get that stupid vampire of the Text faction to back me up. That way, we'll take down both of our enemies. Like they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.